Mike, you ready? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. If we could all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting a good fight in Ukraine, and those suffering from military conflict in the Middle East. Thank you. And we are here, I'm going to read the legal notice. This is for the waiver of the tax penalty ordinance. And this is, please take notice that pursuant to sections 405 and 406 of the town charter, the Milford Town Council will hold a public hearing to hear public comment relating to the following. The waiver of the tax penalty ordinance. It is proposed that the ordinance be added to the New Milford Code of Ordinances as authorized by said charter, section 405, 406, and chapter 98 of the general statutes. Said public hearing to be held in the E. Paul Martin Room at the New Milford Town Hall, 10 Main Street at 6:45 p.m., May 13th, 2024. A copy of the proposed ordinance is on file in the town's clerk's office and available for examination. And I will read the article. Waiver of assessment penalty effective for the grand list of 2023 and all subsequent grand lists pursuant to the authority confirmed by 12-63CD2 paragraph of Connecticut General Statutes. The tax assessor may waive the statutory penalty increase in the property tax assessment resulting from the failure of a property owner to timely submit information requested by the tax assessor pursuant to 12-63C paragraph A of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided accurate information is submitted to the tax assessor before the waiver of the assessment penalty is considered. B, if the taxpayer fails to submit the information requested to the tax assessor by June 1 or within the period of any extension, then the statutory penalty assessed may be waived provided the information requested is submitted to the tax assessor in accurate form no later than November 1st of that year. No request for the waiver of the statutory penalty shall be considered if submitted later than November 1. Waiver should not be considered in the event the tax assessor determines that the taxpayer or taxpayer's agent submits false or misleading information. Do we have Paul?
Paul.
Oh, do we have anybody for
Martin Russo.
Okay. This is for the tax assessment?
Martin actually, I think, had to sign up for the town too.
This is for the tax assessor.
This is, yeah, you wanted the town, not the tax assessor, so I
Public
think you signed
hearing?
up for the wrong one too.
That's the wrong list.
Okay.
Yes,
All
it
right.
was the only one I saw.
Okay, so we have no one from the public hearing. Is there anyone from the council that would like to opine on the section 405, 406 of the charter, adding the waiver of the tax penalty ordinance?
Hey, we're in a meeting.
We discussed it at the last meeting. This is just for the public to give input. Do we have any input from the council? I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, everybody, and we will close the public hearing, and then we will move at 7 p.m. to the regular town council meeting. Thank you, everyone. We can all rise for the pledge, please. Doug, can you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting the good fight in Ukraine, and those suffering from military conflict in the Middle East. Thank you.
Who called in?
Tom Esposito.
Okay. Before we do the, like to do the American Creed very quickly, and like to start off, there is some on people's chairs if they would like to recite with us. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. And before we go to public comment, everyone can be seated. I'd like to introduce our new K-9 officer. You want to come up and see our new K-9 officer? Chief, if you could introduce our new K-9 officer.
Thank you, everyone. Very proud to be here tonight to introduce Officer Lima and Officer Rio. Officer Rio is 2 years old and a newest addition to our K-9 team, a drug recognition dog, which is going to be very important for us. We want the drug dealers to know that we're focused on them, and this is going to create a better focus for us. Mayor, I also wanted to recognize retired Lieutenant Scribner, who helped us with the training on our new K-9. He wanted to give back to the community. I gave so much to him.
And Chief, as our new K-9 officer is making his way around the town council, I know we have one of our lieutenants that I know will be talking about to the council at some time. We just had a new officer that we just put on that I'll talk about in a little bit, but also going to be a retirement of one of our lieutenants.
Yes, I do want to acknowledge Lieutenant Lee Grabner, who's worked with us for 29 years. He's our detective lieutenant, and he's going to be retiring soon. So we wish Lieutenant Grabner the best in his retirement, and I thank him for all he did for me personally and for the department and town.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief.
So I do want to give Officer Lima a chance to introduce K-9 Rio and tell you a little bit about him.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Officer Lima. I have been within the Milford Police Department since 2018, and I'm happy to be here today with our new member, K-9 Rio. I've been recently appointed as the new K-9 handler, and I'm very happy for this opportunity. Very thankful for the department, for the chief to trust me with it. And Rio came from Croatia. He is a German short-haired pointer. He's 2 years old, and we, as the chief mentioned, we had the help of Lieutenant Bill Scribner. He's retired from the Milford. Very, very experienced in dogs. He has extensive training, and he helped us select. He helped us train him, and he's primarily trained in narcotics. So he's a single-purpose dog. He is trained in illegal drugs, crack cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. And we're going to be taking a proactive approach in trying to stop the distribution of these drugs in our streets. So I'm very happy to be here today, and I hope you all feel free to say hi to Rio whenever you guys see him out there on the road. You can pet him. He's a very friendly dog, and hopefully we're going to be taking a more community approach as well, being part of events, and so everybody can meet him and spend
Officer
some time.
Lima, why the name Rio?
So that's a good question. So forgot to mention the name Rio ties back to some of my background. I am originally from Brazil. I was born and raised there, so I moved here when I turned 18. So it's just a way to show some of my background. And he was named after the town or the city, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Right. Thank you.
Okay. As Rio's making his way, Paul, we're going to start with public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to address the council?
Good evening. Martin Russo. I live at 39 Mist Hill Drive. And I'm here to talk tonight on the issue of PFAS and the contamination of our water supply here in New Milford. Some of you may recognize me. I've spoken here in the past. And in the past, I've written these things that I've read to you, and I was going to do that tonight, but something just told me I just wanted to come up here and just speak to you tonight. I didn't write anything. I didn't prepare anything. I'm just going to speak to you as a resident of this town, somebody who cares about this town, that cares about the welfare of the people of this town and of this nation, everyone in this country, because this is a nation-wide issue. This is a global issue. I'm also going to stick to the facts. I'm not going to give you any of my opinions because I have very strong opinions on the subject. So I'm going to just stick to the facts. These are facts and truths that cannot be disputed, and I challenge anyone to dispute them. So fact number one is that the water in this town, our drinking water, some of it is contaminated. We know this to be true. We know that the tests that have been done have come back above the action levels that the state has set, which are 10 parts per trillion. And we've seen readings higher than this, but I'm going to tell you my opinion. I think any level is too high. Even 1, I think, is too high, because these PFAS chemicals are very dangerous. They're called forever chemicals for a reason, because they don't go away, they don't break down. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Fact number 2 is, like I said, this is not just a problem that our town is facing. This is a problem that's facing every town across the country is facing, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. And unfortunately, we do have to talk about filtering our water, because that's just the time that we live in. You know, unfortunately, that's the case. I'm not going to sit up here and play the blame game either, because we all have a part in this. You know, some people may have contributed more than others to this problem, but the fact remains that it's here, and it's something that we all have to deal with. So we all have to deal with it together. I think the last time I was here and sat in, my wife spoke. Sal, who's not here, he made a great comment, and it's something that stuck with me, and it's really one of the only things I remember, is that he said, if you're a homeowner and you're dumping, chemicals into your ground and using Roundup, you're just as guilty as the big corporation. So anybody that's listening tonight, if you're using chemicals and you have a private well and you're using Roundup and Spectricide or any insecticides, fertilizers, anything chemical based, you're poisoning your water, and you're poisoning yourself and your family slowly. So just be aware of that fact. So I'm here tonight to submit to the town and this council that this is an urgent problem. We're talking about the lives and the health and safety of every resident of this town, and further past that. It's the right of every individual to have clean drinking water, and we don't have that right now. So I'm petitioning this council to take this very seriously and do everything in your power to help the citizens of this town with testing the wells, because it all starts with testing. A lot of people in this town can't afford the test right now. I think it's about $600 to have your well tested if you're on a private well. A lot of people don't have that money. So, you know, what I'd like to see is funds put aside to help people pay for these tests. Put programs together to help, you know, people put in filtration systems in their houses. You know, river walks and ball fields are all great for the town, but I don't think there's any issue that's more important than this issue right here in front of us with the PFAS in our water. And there's other chemicals as well, but PFAS is the big category that we're all talking about right now. So I urge you to please take it seriously and do the right thing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Danielle Vargas.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm not at all a political person. I have never done anything like this, but I'm sorry, Danielle Burgess, and it's 8 Sherwood Drive. I'm off of Sunny Valley. I'm actually on the Sunny Valley Tax District Community Well, which I understand serves about 100 homes in my area. And I've lived here and owned a home in New Milford for about 6 years. I think it's a beautiful town. I love the community. And everything that I've understood this town to stand for, and I want to continue to see that, and I have no desire to move out of this town. I was really concerned when I heard about the water pollution. I'm waiting for testing at my own residence at the tap, which is over $700 for me to get tested to find out if my water is contaminated. Not knowing particularly if my water's coming from the Sunny Valley Tax District well or is routed from somewhere else, I don't know. Doesn't matter to me, right? I'm paying into the town for my water. I just want to make sure it's safe. So really, I'm here to ask for education, for one, for people to have the opportunity to understand what PFAS is and the damage that it can do. So we have that education for our own health and safety. For our property values, certainly, that's a concern as a homeowner, that if we are deemed as a contaminated town, that affects our town, right? It affects our real estate, which is a concern. I have no desire to go anywhere again. So I'd like to be able to stay here and work within the community to solve this problem. So my understanding is, one, there's some state funding out there for potable water, but we need to be able to show them that we're contaminated. And for private wells and community wells, that means that we have to pay for our own testing. We would really love for the town to support that. Whomever's to blame for it, I'm not here to do that. I'm not well educated enough on the topic to be able to do that. I just want to know for myself as a homeowner, for my community and the people that I care about in the community, to get educated, have the resources to support us. So having the testing and then also having the education, you know, even just a simple landing page with resources that outsource to the state and the federal guidelines so that we can understand and make informed decisions. I'm a former smoker. I chose to smoke. I could end up with cancer as a result of that. I also chose to quit. That was my choice. I don't have a choice accessing water that's coming out of a community well. And that's a concern. I don't use Roundup. I don't use chemicals. I'm an organic gardener. Another reason why I love this town, because of the agriculture. It's my understanding there's almost 2,500 acres of farming, agriculture in this town. I would hate to see that deteriorated because of PFAS. So I'm just here as a concerned citizen for myself and the community. And I don't know if I'm at my 5 minutes, but that's all I have to say. So thank you for the time. I appreciate it. And I hope that, you know, if nothing else tonight, that there can be a vote to determine a path forward to help each other as a community. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Bethany DePaul, 34 Bridgewater Road. I'm also here to talk about the PFAS problem. I am one of the homeowners who has already had my water tested and my soil. My levels came back. I have it written down because I didn't want to forget. My levels came back at 15 ppt for PFOA. 16 is the state limit and 4 is the EPA limit. And for PFOS, came back at 14 ppt. The state limit is 10, 4 for EPA as well. So being above the state limit, I reached out to the folks at DEEP, and they got back to me right away with a proposal that I stop drinking my water. They said, and I quote, Your water supply is not suitable for human consumption. You can only imagine how that felt when I read that. I can't use my water. I shouldn't even be brushing my teeth with this stuff. I have 2 small children at home. So Deep actually took very good care of me. They sent enough bottled water to get us through until they could install these enormous carbon filtration tanks in my basement. I am still waiting to get the test results back to see how well they're working. I haven't been able to drink my water even still. I haven't been able to use my water since October 31st, when I first found out that there was a PFAS problem in this town. Our soil samples were also taken, and they came back high as well. I cannot have a vegetable garden if I want one. I cannot eat food grown on my property. My property is too contaminated. I have a private well. The aquarium lines don't run to my house, so I have no other option. My water is my water, and I get what I get. I am here on behalf of private well owners who don't have the funds like I do to test their own water. I was very fortunate that I was able to afford it. Like other speakers said, the cost is $600-700. It's prohibitively expensive for many people in this town. And I feel like the town should really help them out and get that water tested so that they can get the ball rolling on the Deep process. There are funds that the state has for people like me who have no other choice but to use the wells that are on their property. I just want to close out by saying that while I was in college, they had a saying, D's will get you degrees. And that's true. D's will get you degrees. You can just skate by. But we cannot call ourselves the greatest of all towns if we just skate by. We need to shoot for a 0 PPT in all of our drinking water for everybody. Water is the second most precious resource next to air for human survival, and our town taxpayers deserve that, to strive for the very best. Thank you.
Jenna Haddad.
Hi everyone, Jenna Haddad. I live at 6 Anthony's Lane here in town. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for those that spoke on PFAS before me so far. That is also why I am here. We too, like Bethany shared, had our water tested for about $750 for a private well. We built about 4 years ago up about 3 minutes from the hospital here. And we had our soil tested then, and we had our water tested through the whole process. We're never once told to test for PFAS. Maybe we were ignorant. This was all new for us. We're, young family that just started off, but never, were informed or from the water company as well to test for PFAS. So everything was safe. So we've been drinking our water for the last 4 years and change now, as well as showering, cooking, watering our garden in it. I too absolutely love this area where we live. We have 2 small kiddos under the age of 4. My kids also attend school here in town, which is also concerning because I had been told that it was also in a high-risk area. I don't think there was funding for the school to be tested yet, so I don't want to speak on behalf of that. But as a new parent and a person that already has the odds against me with genetic genes that I have for cancers and thyroid issues, the water being unsafe has just been like gut-wrenching. Like Bethany was saying, like you just turn on your water, and I take full responsibility if I'm an idiot, but I really just thought the water was safe. We got it tested, right? We were told it was safe, and we go and we get this win that, hey, there's this PFAS stuff. Wait a minute, what's PFAS? Like, we didn't get PFAS tested, and we get educated on it. And sure enough, our soil and our water is not safe for consumption, never mind you to even shower in, I've been told. our levels, the PFOA from York Laboratory in Newtown came back 6.30, and then another PFAS for the acid came back 6.767. So now, they have changed. The others were below the 4.0. They have, changed. So we, have had to move forward and invest in a carbon filtration system. We wound up just charging it because, it's a small fortune that we weren't, planning on having to pay out of pocket, but it was a priority because we just felt stuck. I felt completely paralyzed with like, wait a minute, like, what do we do? Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, do I go out to Big Y and just start buying water? Like the dog, the kids, the showering, like it was just so much. So we took that leap of faith. We got this. I am now in a pickle where I should get it retested, right? Like we put in this system and we're kind of just hoping that it's working, but we don't know, And Bethany, you really hit like such a valid point with the gardening. I'm like so psyched about gardening, but I should probably have the soil retested as well. So I am here to speak for the community. I really wish this had been brought to light. No one to blame, but I wish somebody had mentioned to us because we would have taken action sooner. And I just feel like for families that I mention it to, nobody has a clue what PFAS is. Nobody. And it's like one of those issues that's so overwhelming for people, especially because of the financial burden that you kind of just like, yeah, okay, but it's only going to get worse. So I would love the town support as well to move forward with a solution so that we can be a team because we absolutely love it here and we would never want to have to, but that's what it would bring for us. And, someone else touched on the real estate. Like, I don't even want to think about that because it's been such an amazing, between COVID and all that, like we've gained such equity in our home in such a small period of time, but hey, you're in a contaminated, disaster over there. No thanks. So anyways, I'm thankful to be here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Paul?
Hi, my name is John Vitetta. I'm at 20 Glenbrook Drive, and I'm just here to say that the community really needs to look after each other, and part of it is the water that we drink and we bathe in, and we really need to be proactive instead of reactive. And going forward, just to be aware and educated, and we all want to take care of our neighbors, and we all want to be able to eat good food and drink good waters and be healthy, and so our town can grow in the way that I love it. It's just such a great place to live and to raise the family, and it's just overwhelming. But anyway. Just be aware of the necessities, and the necessity is water. We need water to bathe and drink and cook and clean and everything else, and it's just a basic need. So if we can get more of an education and more of awareness to this growing problem that's nationwide, probably even worldwide, but if we take the bull by its horns right away, and then we can be the people that are putting in these ideas for other people to follow, what examples that we may put forward and find out and educate. So that's it. Thank you so much, and go to Milford.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Harold Hill, 66 North Road in Milford, Connecticut. I'm here about Public Works Department and road paving. I haven't been down here in a couple of years, but I want to say I still give the town an F. 2 years ago, the last time I was down here, the paving catch basins were at approximately 3/4 of the ones installed I would have rejected. And for those who know me, I'm a civil engineer with 30 years experience, mostly doing quality assurance in road, bridge, and utility construction. The This year, I've looked at a number of the roads that were recently paved, such as Little Bear, Big Bear, Bear Hill, Buckingham Road, and approximately 1/3 of the catch basins were installed wrong. I would have rejected them. So that's just pure waste of our tax dollars. But however, the more rampant problem is there's almost zero cross slope. And for anybody who knows what cross slope is, it's the slope of the road from the center line to the edge. It's supposed to be a minimum of 2%. So like Buckingham Road, almost every single linear foot of that road has almost zero cross slope. Now, even though the road is steep, but that means the water runs down the road longitudinally before it runs off the edge. That's dangerous. Another good example, right in front of number 77 Big Bear Hill Road. The road's perfectly flat. The lane on the outside of the curve. There's no cross slope, zero. I put a level on it. And my personal favorite wins the award is right in front of number 57 Little Bear Hill Road. The water comes down the edge of the road, and then about 5 or 6 feet before the catch basin right there, the water runs right out into the middle of the road, and all winter long, it was a great big sheet of ice all the way across the road, because the water ran from the outside of the curve, across the center of the road, and over into the catch basin on the inside of the curve. That's just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hillary Ram, 154 Guernsey Lane. I came really wanting to talk about DPW, but I was so moved and grateful for all the people that came out to speak about PFAS. I have been, when I was sitting on town council, I felt that this was a really important thing to get out in front of. I also sort of saw that the EPA was going to change from having a 10-point count to 4, which they did. So now we know that 4 parts is what they're saying is too much, and for private wells it's 10. But of course, this is going to come to the private wells as well, right? So this is, the EPA is leading the way, and soon enough for private wells it will be 4 parts. So the bottom line is that there is no safe amount of PFAS. I think you've heard it here. I think the 4 is for a variance, right? It's just it's for the fact that you can't test it perfectly. So 4 parts is an allowance. The bottom line is there is no safe amount of PFAS and to drink. So I think that we should get out in front. We should find out what's out there from the state, federal money to help people. We should be paying for people who can't afford to pay for the testing for the private wells. I know that there's a way to do it. This is water, and we are the government. You are the government. This is the whole purpose of government, is to be there for people when they need. And this is certainly a great need right now. We need to know the extent of it. We need to create a map, and we need to understand more fully on our website. So the town website should maybe have a little more information for people of what they should do. If you have a private well, if you have a community well, if you have, if you're on public water, what should people do? And how are we going to help them? How are we going to help them get there? Thank you for coming out, and I just couldn't agree more. As far as DPW, I think I'm going to run out of time, but I think I don't know if I'm alone in this or what, but I'm very confused about where we're going with certain projects. There is this thing called the Riverfront Revitalization Project, and it looks like that's what we're moving towards. In a recent News Times article, Mayor Bass, you were quoted as saying the town plans to focus moving forward with projects such as the proposed community ball field, the new public works facility, and the town's riverfront revitalization. So there it is. I'd like you to, I think the town would like to hear you come out and communicate very clearly the full plan, which we've seen from riverfront revitalization, but that these 3 pieces are in fact happening. We are moving forward. I was surprised that the question, because you've always said that the public would have a vote on this. We have a referendum on May 21st, And certainly this could be asked right now so that we don't spend any more taxpayer dollars on this plan if it's not something the taxpayers want. So I think that it's coming at us piecemeal. So it's sort of happening, but nobody understands how to see the project as whole, and do they have a say on it? Or when there is a say, is it too late? DPW's already moved. We've bought the ball fields. You know, at what point does the public get involved? So my hope is that we get to understand the full scope of the project, how much it's going to cost, a ballpark figure, because there's a lot of pieces still to be put in place, and then the public gets to weigh in on it. So my question was, why, sorry, I went off radar here. In the April 10th meeting, when we first were presented with the DPW plan, it was 2023, April 10th, and we saw some of the pictures of some ideas. It was a very loose idea. Jack Healy stated that they have their aquifer protection permit in place, that they've applied for a $4 million grant to move the recycling center, and it was described by Jack as a very integral part of the riverfront revitalization, and that they're working with DEEP and EPA. So when I attended the Inland Wetlands meeting on May 9th, I was confused because, oh, we have 30 seconds? My understanding was that there are absolutely no permits right now from zoning, planning, wetlands. So how can trees be removed? How can there be equipment over there stored? I think we just need to clarify what's going on over there and what is the rollout of this project, and when will taxpayers get to decide if this is going to happen. I have a lot more to say, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just had a few remarks to continue on this issue with the short-term rentals.
Just your name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Elizabeth Hendrick at 84 Second Hill Road. And we've been talking about the issue as Airbnbs, and I see it's still listed as such in the agenda. However, I think singling out that one organization leaves us open for a lawsuit for discriminating against Airbnbs. The proper term really should be short-term rental properties, so we should change it to that from now on. And I'm trying to think what were in my notes, which is sitting under a bag in my car right now. And as you get older, you forget everything, so that was one point. And the other one was I actually had looked through the zoning this afternoon after I got cleaned up from digging in the garden, my favorite pastime. And I looked under the definitions and uses, etc. And as far as the single-family residential zone, it does not seem to be a permitted use at all. So I think we should look at that and before we get crazy about writing new things, but it's not a use. It's not a permitted use. And I think the third thing out of maybe 6 that I had, so I'm only batting 50%, but was that, what was it? I probably forgot, but maybe next time I'll bring my papers and I'll have a few things. I didn't want to beleaguer the whole thing, but oh, I know what it was. I downloaded a thing about, and it was again titled Airbnb's Best Locations in Connecticut, the 10 best locations. New Milford is number 6, right? You've seen that one? Yeah, so if you want to go forward and maybe find a way to make some money out of it, make it lucrative, perhaps there's a way to have it in certain zones, but, have regulations in place to control it or to make it, work better than just in zones that it doesn't belong in at all. So that's it, since I can't remember anything else, but whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Next, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Chris?
Okay, I'll fill in for Katie while she's, I think, on her way here, but the consent agenda, item 4A, approval of prior minutes of town council meeting of April 22nd, 2024. We have a motion?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay. Please note Alex's abstention.
Item 4B, tax collector, discussion and possible action on approving tax refunds. Balance in refund account was $6,680.56. The May 13th, 2024 refunds are for $1,425.17, leaving a balance of $5,255.39. Looking for a motion to approve the refunds.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item 5, Parks and Rec. The Parks and Rec Department requests permission to accept the following donations for the 8-mile and 5K road races. $250 from Modulewski's Auto Body Works, $250 from Candlewood Valley Pediatrics, $250 from Matson Financial Advisors, $250 Savings Bank of Danbury, $250 from Piccarelli Enterprises, doing business as Roberts Auto Sales and Services, $50 from Midway Market and Deli, $50 gift card from Stop and Shop, $250 Lasco Roofing and Sheet Metal, two $65 gift cards from White Horse Tavern, $50 from Robotics and Beyond, 2 gift cards for 1 hour massage from Sylvia Castro, 4 $25 gift cards to Iron Rail Restaurant, 1 gift basket from Joe's Salon. And they're requesting that the monetary donations be deposited in the Recreation Revenue Account number 104500500444709. The New Milford Parks and Recreation Committee would like to thank all these donors for their generous gifts.
And we'll be sending a letter thanking them as well. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Was there a motion? Did you move that, Chris?
I didn't move it.
I'll move it.
Yep.
And we have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah, question.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
On these gift cards, how are they, what do you say, turned in and turned into cash?
They're given to they're given to the winners of the 8-mile 5K road race, so they're given to the racers.
Okay,
Yep.
as a reward.
Correct.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Next is mayor's comments. We'll first start with a couple of proclamations. The first is, this is ALS Awareness Month. And whereas ALS, known by many as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive, fatal neurodegenerative disease in which a person's brain lost connections with the muscles, slowly taking their ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And whereas every 90 minutes someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. And whereas on average patients diagnosed with ALS only survive 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis, and ALS has no cure. And whereas people who have served in the military are more likely to develop ALS and die from the disease than those with no history of military service. And whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, and communication technologies is of vital importance to the people living with ALS. And whereas clinical trials play a pivotal role in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. And whereas we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Ice Bucket Challenge through a renewed commitment to galvanize public awareness and support funding leading to significant investments in ALS research. And whereas ALS Association is the largest philanthropic funder of ALS research globally, has committed over $150 million to support more than 550 projects across the United States and 18 other countries. And whereas our commitment to accelerating the pace of discovery remains unwavering, fueled by the hope that one day ALS will be a livable disease for everyone, everywhere, until we can cure it. And whereas ALS Awareness Month increases the public's awareness of people with ALS, dire circumstances and acknowledge the terrible impact this disease has, not only in the person, but on his or her family and the community, and recognizes the research being done to eradicate this disease. Now therefore I, Pete Bass, do proclaim the month of May 24th as ALS Awareness Month. I call upon all Americans to join in supporting ALS research, advocating for increased funding, and standing in solidarity with those affected by this relentless disease. Next one is Older Americans Month. And whereas May is the Older Americans Month, a time for us to recognize and honor New Milford, Connecticut's older adults and their immense influence on every facet of American society. And whereas through their wealth of life experience and wisdom, older adults guide our younger generations and carry forward abundant culture and historical knowledge. And whereas older Americans improve our communities through intergenerational relationships, community service, civic engagement, and many other activities. And whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have opportunity to participate and live independently. And whereas the town of New Milford must ensure that older Americans have the resources and support needed to stay involved in their communities, reflecting our commitment to inclusivity and connectiveness. Now therefore I, Pete Bass, do proclaim the month of May 2024 as Older Americans Month. This year's theme, Powered by Connection, emphasizes the profound impact of meaningful interactions and social connection on the well-being and health of our older Americans in our community. I, Pete Bass, call upon residents to join me in recognizing the contributions of our older citizens and promoting programs and activities that foster connection, inclusion, and support for older adults. Next, talking about some of the things that are going on in town. First, this week is National Police Week, and this is where we pay special recognition to those law enforcement officers who've lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. In memory, Harmon Kenneth Couch, a New Milford constable for 10 years. He died in the line of duty on June 3rd, 1964. Constable Couch and Ted Adams responded to a report of a man and his 13-year-old son whose boat may have capsized near the Bleachery Dam on the Housatonic River. They utilized a small boat from the marina to enter the river. However, their boat was pulled into the dam and capsized. Officer Couch was trapped below the dam and drowned. We also want to thank the men and women of the New Milford Police Department for their continuing support of keeping our community safe. As we talked about before, we moved from number 7 safest city in the state to number 5, and it's behalf of their commitment to 24/7 safety here in New Milford. I want to thank Chief Cerruto and the men and women as they swore their oath to us. Also want to thank the men and women as last week we swore in our new officer, Tyler Caldera, and he is now at the academy learning, so we're excited to have him and want to thank our town clerk, Noreen Pritchard, for doing the oath. So let's wish him well. I want to remind the public that our municipal budget for both the town and the educational budgets, the vote will be on May 21st, which is next Tuesday. All polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to continue to push that on our social sites, and you can see the signs around town, so thank you to Mike Boucher and our DPW team for putting out those signs to create awareness for our budget. I want to remind people that on Park and Rec, Len Deming Park will be closed on May 16th as we fog seal that parking lot to continue to work on our infrastructure. So remember, May 16th, Len Deming Park will be closed. The New Milford Post Office is hosting a community job fair tomorrow at Pettibone from noon to 4 p.m. They'll have postal experts will be on site to assist applicants in the process of applying for a job with the U.S. Postal Service. Positions include a city carrier assistant, delivers and collects mail and footer by vehicle, a rural carrier associate, which delivers and collects mail along a prescribed rural route using a vehicle, postal support employee, and they perform distribution and a variety of sales and customer support services, which would be at the postal office, mail handler assistant, and they perform distribution in a variety of sales and customer support services for products. Also wanted to let the council know last Friday, I attended the First Light, which is the grand opening of the new telescope that was at the McCarthy Observatory. And thank you to our town council, our Board of Finance, and the public as we partnered with the Board of Education and anonymous donors to bring the state-of-the-art telescope to fruition. They are actually mapping comets as we speak now, and just the upgrade from what it was, which was at end of life, to now really a high-tech technological space, was truly impressive. So I want to thank Bob Lambert, John Gabar, and all the volunteers that did a phenomenal job in raising the money. And what's amazing is 3 students that have graduated from New Milford High School. One is at NASA currently, and the other 2 are at the Jet Propulsion Laboratories. So it's amazing to see how that fosters continued love of space, love of science, and a great thing. Want to thank also the silo, as we had the UN ambassador Daniel Blanco. He came to town hall last week and talked about some of the collaborations that the UN is going to have both here in the country and in New Milford. We're going to talk about some more of those in the coming months. Some exciting times for our youngsters who actually got to go down with the youth agency to the UN and listen in and speak on that, so that's great. Speaking with Chief Cerruto today, as we continue with our traffic statistics. As we all know, we want to make sure that we continue with traffic enforcement to lower speeds and accidents on Route 7. This past week, there was 92 additional motor vehicle stops. So in the year-to-date for 2023, but this time last year was 818 stops. This year is 1,678. That's an increase of 860, which is a 105% increase. Motor vehicle accidents in the year 2023, this time to date, was 297. 49 were in parking lots. This year in 2024 is 280. 43 in parking lots. That's a decrease of 17 or 5%. And when you look at the national results and state results, to have any kind of decrease is amazing, as everything is on the upswing when it comes to speeding, accidents, stop signs, going the wrong way, and just the continued vigilance of our police force and create awareness. Also, thank you to the public, as they have to do their part as well by slowing down, creating social awareness as well, and making sure that these totals continue to go down. As we've talked about here many times, one accident is too many. And I know tonight DPW will be talking a little bit more about Grove Street and what the engineers have decided or make recommendations to us as the council for moving forward. Some events that will be going on this next week: May 17th, 18th, and 19th, which will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 4th annual Goat Days, which will be down at Young's Field. Be lots of there'll be carnival rides, vendors, petting goats, bunnies. There'll be all sorts of great stuff, music. If you get a chance, come down again. That'll be 10 to 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday, and I believe it's 3 or 4 to 9 or 8 or 9 on Friday, I believe. On May 18th, 9 a.m. to noon on the green is the farmers market. They opened up this past weekend. Great weather supposed to be for this coming weekend, so great chance to go down to the farmers market as well. Also Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Pettibone parking lot is the United Way and Rotary Hygiene Drive. If you have the availability to help purchase some hygiene products for those in need, it's a great benefit. I know there's a big need for that, and you can drop those off 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Pettibone parking lot. Also Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Senior Center is the Senior Center Open House, where if you are a senior and you haven't been up to the Senior Center, or you know someone that is, definitely come up and see all that the Senior Center has. Everything from programs, multiple programs that we have. You can partake from lunch there as well. And also, we have our advisors that can help you with anything from Social Security to Medicare, Medicaid. Come down and check it out, 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. On May 23rd, 6:30 p.m. is the first Rock the Block concert, which will be Struggle Monkey. And this is a very well-attended concert series, and thank you to the Bank Street Group. Bring down a lawn chair, listen to some great music, and enjoy it. On May 25th, 9 a.m. to noon again is the Farmers Market, and music will be Buck Edwards and the Buckshots. And then on May 27th, starting at 8 a.m. in Gaylordsville is the Gaylordsville Fire Department, their Memorial Day Parade, which is a wonderful parade. And then at 10 a.m. here in the downtown will be our Memorial Day Parade as well. So 2 parades in New Milford for Memorial Day, and that's great. After the Memorial Day Parade, down at the Housatonic, Youngs Field, across from Youngs Field is the Rotary Duck Race. If you haven't had a chance to buy your duck yet, you still can do that, and see if you can win your prize. So that's pretty much what I have for Mayor's comments. And next is the Housatonic Herbicide Working Group.
Item 7?
Got Ken? All right.
How are you?
Good.
Good evening, everybody. Kent Fletcher. I'm representing the Housatonic Herbicide Working Group, and our goal was to monitor the herbicide spraying on the railroads. And when we first started, we really couldn't get to talk to the railroad whatsoever. But good news, Senator Stephen Harding and Representative Maria Horn have stepped in and actually created legislation, HB 5219. So if you Google that, HB 5219 space CT, Connecticut, it'll give you the outline. And on May 1st, it passed the House. On May 6th, it passed the Senate. However, Governor Lamont has decided that has a few reservations about the bill and has not signed it yet. So we're waiting to find out what those are and why he feels that way. But we're happy that, we are talking to the railroad, and the railroad will engage with us more. So my goal in New Milford is to map private wells within 100 feet of the railroad. I've started the list, and then perhaps in GIS, create a shape file, a center line of the railroad, to let them know, okay, from here to here is a sensitive area, from here to here is a well, and so on. So the good news is the railroad is talking to us. They've been receptive. One of the points that I didn't understand before was we asked them to tell us, when are you spraying? And we have talked to Deep. Deep will come and test after they have sprayed. Apparently in the past, sometimes they had been harassed, their workers, because of the spraying. And for a safety issue, they don't want to give the particular day out. And they also hire that out, which I found out. I didn't know that. I thought they all worked for the railroad. So they actually hire that out. They subcontract that to licensed herbicide people. And so we asked that they give us a list of what are you spraying, and make sure that it's, they were spraying method 240, which was a really bad actor, so they have stopped spraying that. And we did meet with the Housatonic River Commission, Mayor Gambino, so we're making progress. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about putting signs up, where the wells are in all the sensitive areas, but they felt that that was expensive and didn't want to go down that road at this time. So, but we are still in dialogue with them, and we're going to keep pushing it, keep the waters in New Milford safe. So that's the goal. Mayor?
Ted, could you tell us how many towns, as well as New Milford, this working group represented and is now making the...
We are right up through Kent, Cornwall, Salisbury, right up the line. And I'm glad you asked that question, because one thing I forgot was when we first started this, people were saying, why are you just concentrating on Housatonic? You know, why not the state? So this bill that was put forth is statewide,
That's good.
which is great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to congratulate you and the group. I think that to get, enlist the help of our state representatives was a great strategy, and you've done it. And having a dialogue with the railroad is not an easy thing, and you all have really done a great job. So
Yeah, we're happy. We crossed that barrier, and it is because of Senator Harding and Maria Horn, Representative Horn, you know, so we're very grateful for their support.
Mary Jane?
So we still don't know what they're using now? Is that what you said? They have not revealed what they're actually spraying with now?
Their subcontractor now, they are supposed to put forth this list. Now, that's if this bill passes, so we're still in limbo there. We don't know what, exactly what they were spraying, but they did say that they have stopped using method 240. So that's about all I can tell you on that.
Well, thank you for your efforts.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
Any other questions for Ken? Ken, thank you and the group.
Okay.
Outstanding work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Ken.
Okay. Chris?
Item 8, land use. The New Milford Land Use Department is requesting an increase to the expenditure and revenue sides of the budget from $30,000 to $50,000 to continue to use outside consultants for the review of more complicated projects.
Thank you. Jim?
Good evening, all. James Furlow, Wetlands Enforcement Officer for the town of New Milford. I think it sums it up fairly quickly. We have a cap. This is our self-sustaining account, which we discuss every year at budget. We have made encumbrances up to the $30,000, and we still have additional requirements to go forward. So we're coming back to you to raise that cap. With that, we've also received back to date almost $23,000. It's probably more than that because I think we just received another check. So we're back to 70% already reimbursed on the projects that have gone out to be reviewed. Some of the projects aren't done yet. 240 Pickett District Road, that has not even been completely billed at this point in time. That's $13,000, which is why we need the additional $20,000 cap to play catch up. We're looking at about $14,000 between here and the end of the year, and if we get another project on that, it's another $6,000. That's why we're looking for the cap to be up to $50,000. We've had to do this once in the past, about 6 or 7 years ago. Again, another time frame where we had a lot of more difficult projects coming in. The good part about that is the more difficult projects are usually higher tax generators and things like that, but they still need to meet the requirements that are in the town of New Milford. And so this is both for zoning, planning, wetlands, ZBA, and aquifer.
I move that we raise both. Second.
Yep. Do we have a second? Second. Second from Mayor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Can I
Mayor?
thank Jim for all that work he does to make these things possible, and we're looking forward to the closer inspection of all these projects, and we think this will help.
Thank you.
And Jim, emergency management. You're
Yes.
already up here.
Let's switch hats. Again, James Farrell, now the Emergency Management Director for the town. I'm coming before you this evening. We've had an uptick in calls, and Gaylersville is taking over doing a lot of medical calls up in Gaylersville as well, and their first responder capabilities. So with some of these items, we've had more calls. We've also had more people that aren't buying houses that are becoming firefighters, but they're not, obviously they're 22 years old. And in the current economy, it's very difficult to try and find housing, et cetera. So they are more restricted to the gas card as a reimbursement. And thank you from this town for all the time, effort, service, and education they bring to this town. With that, again, we did this a couple years ago. I'm seeking an additional $5,000 to close out this year for gas cards for all of our emergency responders, which includes Gaylersville, Northville, Waterwitch Hose Company number 2, the Ambulance Corps, and our CERT team. So there's a lot of different groups involved in that.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we transfer $5,000 to the emergency gas card program due to the increase in calls and members who qualify for the reward.
And a second.
Don't we
No?
need to say where it's being transferred from in the same motion?
I would say at the discretion of the finance director.
Yes, yeah, at the discretion of the finance director.
Okay, just,
Yep.
And just one comment, to me, this is, certainly it's more of a spend for the town, but it's encouraging because of the volunteerism we have, that people are taking this and, and they're doing a lot of good things for the town because of that. So I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, we're getting more people out on calls, things like that. It's better for the town.
Yep.
Absolutely. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
You too. Item 10, from our grant compliance specialist. I move that we accept the following grant of $5,000 from the Connecticut Department of Transportation Active Transportation Microgrant to the New Milford Public Library for the purchase of vests, helmets, LED lights, educational literature, and programs, including the New Milford Police Department, as outlined in the grant budget. Funds will be accepted into account designated by the Director of Finance and/or the Board of Finance.
Second? Second. Thank you, Mayor. And this is, we actually were able to get this grant, and this is going to enable us to purchase more vests, get grant money for vests for those that are walking pedestrians in our roadways, whether they be Route 7, 202, downtown, extra safety features, including LED lights. Also, we're going to be doing some educational work in the library as well about pedestrian safety, driving safety, and this will all be through this grant. So I want to thank Victoria and Kathy from the library, Victoria, our grant writer, and Kathy, our librarian, head librarian, for getting this grant. Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay, 10B, I move to accept the following grant of $22,263 from the State of Connecticut Public Educational and Governmental Planning and Education Technology, PEGPETIA, the acronym, grant program, to the New Milford Public Library for the purchase of DEVOS, DEVOS equipment. Funds will be accepted into account designated by the Director of Finance and/or the Board of Finance.
And this second. Thank you. And we received this grant. This will help us upgrade our AV equipment in the library, especially Memorial Hall. And want to thank Dave Watson and Victoria, Kathy, for all their work, and also the Board of Ed as well. Because they actually get these grants, I think, every year as well. And I know when the two IT directors were talking about availability, they were able to work together, and we were able to get this part of the grant for the town. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay, item 11, I move we go into executive session, inviting Personnel Director Greg Bolero and Attorney DeBella into the session.
And Olga.
And Olga. Discussion of the Finance Director position.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then we'll ask everyone to just, if they could wait outside for a few moments as we go into executive session. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, everybody. There was no motions or votes taken. I'd like to entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
So moved.
In the second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Chris?
Motion to suspend the rules. I would like to add item 11A, which would be to approve our new director of, our new finance director.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Chris?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve Olga Malinikov, I probably butchered it, as our new finance director for the town of New Milford.
Do I have a second?
What date?
August 1st, right? Greg, where's Greg?
August 12th.
August 12th, okay, August 12th.
Starting August 12th.
Okay. Do I have a second? 12. And we have a second. And we're very excited with the vote tonight to have Olga back with the town of New Milford. It's great to have her. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Olga.
Okay, moving on to item 12, Public Works, 12A, discussion and update on the moving of DPW to the Century Brass property.
Okay. We can have Jack, Mike, Chuck. You guys know how to work the,
Somebody does.
I think there's one in there, Mike.
All right,
I think
well, they're
there's
doing
one in
that.
there- I think there's one in there with Chuck's, with the stuff already on there, I think.
While they're doing that, I just put together a little
Before you do that, Jack,
Oh.
let's get this up, and then I'd like to just take a moment. Mike, or Chris.
So,
I'll tell you.
we have,
Is this yours, Mike, or is this?
no, I got mine in my hands still.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Grove
let's-
Street, we have zoning minutes, we have PFAS, and we have how new federal limits on forever chemicals will affect Connecticut.
There should be another.
Okay, there we go.
Should be another one.
There's another one.
Thank you. Scan it twice now. Or don't snore.
Bingo.
Your facility, the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah. That's yours, Mike? Yeah. Okay. I had one on the other one, but I'll just go ahead and read my thing versus being up here.
All right, down, forward, back. There you go. So this is the same one we did last.
Okay, before we get there, before Jack goes into his history, I'd like to talk a little bit about history too. For the public that's here and those that are watching tonight. Can you turn the lights on, please, for a moment? There's a lot of conjecture about the process, about the property. Some conjecture that this was done like in the middle of the night, done in a week, done in a month. So first thing I like to start with is the New Milford Zoning Commission minutes, regular meeting minutes of February 10th, 2015. 2015. Let me see if I can count myself. 2015, 2024. Hey Doug, how many years is that?
9+.
Ah, okay. I wasn't even mayor then. But let's go to the minutes. Town of New Milford, right, wants to do a zone change for the approximately 65.88 acres from industrial zone to to a government service district overlay. Again, February 10th, 2015. And you can look these up the minutes yourselves. Go to www.newmilford.org, go to agendas and minutes, click the drop down from zoning to February 10th, 2015, and you can read them yourself. Within these minutes, I'll read a couple of things. This is Miss Reagan, Laura Reagan, who is our ZEO and our town planner, explained that on behalf of the town is requesting a zone change for the 65.8 acre site from the industrial zone to the government service district. She noted that the GSD is an overlay zone, so it would be placed on top of or in addition to the underlying base district, which in this case is the industrial zone. The letter request received notes that this change will allow town more flexibility for the use of this property. Ms. Reagan noted the staff reports includes permitted uses in the GSD, Chapter 85 of the regulations, and pointing out the setbacks in the GSD are significantly smaller than they are in the industrial zone. You can continue to read on about the POCD, how that also dovetails into this. And then you're going to go to page 3 of 12 of the minutes. Page 3, Mayor Patricia Murphy, who was the mayor at the time, not Pete Bass, not Dave Gromback, Mayor Murphy, gave an overview of how the grant was obtained from the Department of Economic and Community Development. Therefore, the expectation is that the property be used for economic development. She said that the town is looking to potentially move some, big word some, if not all, of the Department of Public Works activities to this location. Well, what do you know? What do you know? When was this again? 2015. Okay. She said the town is looking to potentially move some, if not all. We talked about that before. This relocation of the DPW activities, such as rock crushing, should also improve conditions for the residents that are so close to the current operation. The town is looking to market this property to clean or light industrial manufacturing as well. Mayor Murphy explained the entire relocation of DPW would likely occur out of an agreement should someone desire to do something on the riverfront. Whoa, wait a minute. We were talking about the riverfront in 2015, Mayor. Holy smokes. Wow, okay. The town would look for financial assistance from interested parties to move the DPW from its current location to this site. So the reason why I bring this up is this is stuff that's been talked about for years. It hasn't been something that was just rolled out in a year, 2 years, 2 months, 2 weeks. This is stuff that's been ongoing. And when you look at projects, right? Project of this depth and this breadth, they do dovetail and overlap other projects, right? For instance, as we've talked about here before, right, Randy? I think it was at that time, I know, Alex, you were on it, the ball fields, right? We actually set up a subcommittee to look at ball fields at point in time. And the goal was to keep the green space, though some people on social media say we're going to put buildings on there and, you know, we're going to have a casino and we're going to have all sorts of stuff on this green space. The green space is going to continue to be a green space. Pulling off those fields. Doug, I know you, your boy, you coached, you played on those hard as iron fields. My kids and I coached Pop Warner, same thing. Imagine state-of-the-art fields like all the other towns have. Imagine that. And then we could have the green space like the riverfront talked about, right? You can have splash pad down there. Keep people safe rather than jumping in the Uzi. They can be the splash pad. You can have an ice skating rink maybe there. band shell, all sorts of opportunities. Pickleballs, I mean, we get lots of requests for additional pickleball courts. Imagine how cool that would be. But that has to be a plan and a phase. And when you have people opining on social media, talking about you should know the cost today, how are you going to know the costs when you haven't finished your development or look at the project? But one of the things you can do is what this you said back in 2015, which is some of the DPW for stuff that we could move over there basically at no cost. Moving salt and sand. We already have salt and sand, right, Mike? So moving it from there to there really is just the cost of the truck and the manpower, right? Moving the pipe yard, right? That's just taking man, material, bringing it over there. And I know we've talked about this before, but we all want a cleaner riverfront. We all want a better looking riverfront. Moving the pipe yard down there, we talked about this before. Am I right, Chris?
Absolutely.
Or then we make that a pocket park? That's what I thought. Okay, just want to make sure I'm in the same universe. So it's all about phases. It's all about costs. And by the way, as I talked about in the very beginning, you can look at videos too. There's lots of videos out there. One I actually did with Mike and Jack, and we were talking about the DPW facility and the need to move, where you see hundreds of thousands of dollars of machinery sitting in the rain, in the snow, and it's outgrown its facility. But that doesn't mean it's a carte blanche thing. There's a process. DPW will be before us lots of times, talking about the needs, how all that works, how that dovetails in before you get to any kind of cost. And then once you get to a cost, guess what? It's got to go to the taxpayer. They're the ones that decide. But we'd be doing the public, you the council, a disservice to come in with something that's half-assed. Another thing, how do you pay for it? How do we pay for that? With all the other needs that are going to be coming before this town council in this town, right? You've got, I've talked about this before, 2 elementary school roofs going to need to get done. That's, right, that's Hill and Plain, and that's Northville. Got to get done, okay? You've also got the new firehouse. You've also got, which we're going to be talking about with our capital plan, right? The paving that's going to be needed for the parking lots at the high school and the sidewalks that's needed to get done. Lots and lots of capital requests are going to be needed. It's how you fit it in, how you plan it. We're looking at ways to create revenue off of that property to help pay for whatever bonding costs would be to do a project. Right now, one of the things that we did look at, we've talked about before, is there an opportunity for solar? We don't know right now because guess what? State isn't giving us RECs. Am I correct, Jack?
Yeah, there's a capacity issue with the Eversource lines.
Correct, because they're at capacity. So to be giving a full-fledged plan, which would be your expenses, and then how you're going to pay for it, if you don't have that, how are you going to go to the public? So the conjecture, again, on social media is wrong. And let me tell you another thing. Trees. Trees on Century Brass. Okay? Big, huge to-do about trees. Jack, we talked about it a little bit. Those are invasive trees, right? I mean, you're a tree warden.
Yep.
How many years you've been tree warden?
Probably about 15.
And I think when I was talking to you, Jack, you showed the dead tree to Mike, right? Wasn't that dead?
Yep.
And then you asked Mike to do what? Take the trees down as a tree warden?
Yep.
And then Mike, you're the other tree warden. You took them down, right? So they're invasive species. And I think, Jack, you were the one that told me, isn't up there in Litchfield, White Memorial, aren't they taking those trees down too?
Yeah, there was an article that they wrote the same weekend. They're girdling them to kill the Norway maples.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. So we took them down. And then,
What kind of trees are they?
Jack?
Norway maples.
And then, working And then working together with the garden club, they were able to give you trees. Native trees, right?
Native trees, sycamores, white oak, sweet gum, yeah.
So I just want the public that's watching here tonight to realize this is not something that was developed 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 1 year ago, 1 week ago. This is stuff that's been going on since 2015 under 3 administrations. And this is all to get the best product that we can. But it takes time. And to scream from the balconies is wrong. Everybody should be, look, everybody should, if you're going to disagree with the project, 100%. But it should be in a way that is constructive, in a way that helps and moves things forward. In a very constructive way. You know, I'm going to preface this as well. Town employees do a great job. I can't thank you guys enough for what you do each and every day. I know Chris Cosgrove talked about that. I can't thank you. And when other people belittle our town employees, that's just not right. That's not fair, not right. If you have a problem, do the right thing. Talk to the person's superior. Talk to the mayor's office. Come here to town council. Air your grievances. But to, again, continue to attack people on social media, it's not a good look for the town at all. So again, Jack, I'll let you get to the history of it, but I wanted our townspeople to see this is something that's been going on for quite some time. We'll continue to do so as we flesh out and bring out all this information. Thank you, Jack.
All right,
Mr.
just
Mayor?
before we,
Yep, Alex?
Mr. Mayor, could I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. I wasn't actively here full-time when that was done, which means I didn't really know about it. And I'm thinking there are a lot of people who don't know about it. So here's an example of a time when maybe we need to be more proactive in helping people be brought up to speed. Maybe there's a way to think about these projects and to do what you just did. I mean, there are always going to be people who complain. We know that. But maybe there's a way for us to put some things out there that you're aware of or other people are aware of that have been talked about and addressed over a long period of time to help people understand a little bit more about the history and recognizing that there's a changeover of people living in New Milford. We've got people moving in, people moving out, people don't know things, and maybe their lives are busy and they're not paying as close attention when something goes down. So maybe it's our responsibility as community leaders to help people know more information about the history of whatever's being discussed. And that would just be my suggestion, because that's really helpful to hear 2015. That even if you don't hear anything else, but that has to be put out there more, I think, and maybe we all can come up with a way to have semi-annual updates on the community, on projects and the history of, brief history of, because people who weren't paying attention and maybe now are old enough to pay attention have missed it. That's all.
And Alex, I 1,000% agree with you. Hearing tonight some people's concern about PFAS and them needing information, quality information. Talking tonight and seeing some stuff on social media where a lot of misinformation is given. I 1,000% agree with you, and we will wholeheartedly be moving more towards exactly what you said. So I want to thank you for that.
I'd like to add, just, Alex, I agree with you. We live in technology where any of us can go on a computer and pretty much find information. And the problem is that misinformation is wrongly used for a benefit. And when it gets out there, you have the Chicken Little effect where people believe what they read. And so we have the responsibility as individuals to research those facts first before we come up here and accuse people of certain things. we live it in technology, as Pete said, you can go online and find pretty much any information you need to know about what's going on in this town. And so the worst thing that people can do is trust the word of others. Find out the information and find out for yourself what the facts are. And then this way, you know the answer before you ask the question. That's key and important. So, thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Bravo.
Jack?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you, to your point, I did a little research just to give you a little timeline. I also want to explain, this is not going to be an easy process, because while you've got the process of looking at what the town wants to do, and if you want to, if the town decides to put the public works there, there's the design of that. But there's also, as Randy and the mayor are very aware, there's a host of environmental issues. And under RECRA, under TSCA, these are regulations that pertain to PCBs and hazardous waste. And this facility has a RECRA closure program that you have to manage. To the town's benefit or detriment, I've done many of these prior to coming here. And so it's a process. When you submit a RECRA closure plan, it's probably 6 to 8 inches thick. And a lot of work's been done, but there's a lot of work to go. So I'm just going to give you a brief, this is really just a bunch of bullets. Foreclosure occurred in September 1999, so the town took possession. If you were to do that today, I'd always advise the town, don't do that. There's a series of loans in 2001, 2002, 2007, probably, if I added them all up there, in the neighborhood of $2.5 to $3 million that were used for closure of the, quote-unquote, closure of the facility and demolition. When I use the word closure, there's a regulatory term for closure, and a lot of what's been happening over there is closure. The lagoons were closed and, quote-unquote, closed in September of 2008. That's an important date. DECD, Demolition and Urban Action Grant of 2.2 was obtained in, I think, around 2015 or so. The overlay zone, which the mayor went into, was passed in 2015. The facility was demolished in 2016, and that's what the grant went for. Subsequent to that, there was a lawsuit, and I'll go into that a little bit later. As of 2020, we filed the RECRA closure reports to both DEP and EPA. When I got here, my first meeting was with EPA and DEP, and they were not happy with the town of New Milford because we had not been keeping up with the filings. Since then, all of our filings are on time, and we're working very closely with them to keep those deadlines. In 2021, we obtained a permit for the temporary office trailer that's over there. That was in conjunction with the ESG project, the energy project. We obtained a permit, which is good to August of this year. I've talked to Laura, and I can get an extension for that. Subsequent to ESG's project, we used it for the work project on the Upland Road Bridge, and now they're using it for the project on Mariel Bridge. It saves us money because we just keep it there and we don't have to hook it up, or it just stays there. It's a temporary office space, which will eventually be removed.
So Jack, just again, so Stephanie knows, and those that are watching again, there is a permit,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That's active for the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
The steel was removed, and the town council approved it for $836,000, I believe was the final cost, and had it disposed of in Michigan. It was the cost of doing business, and we kept it. It was a lump sum bid that the contractor had to do for that amount of money. It was approved by the town council. There was an aquifer protection permit approved November of 2021. It's subject to renewal in 2026. We applied for it and received it for, there's a design for a fuel depot, part of Public Works, which we will be installing, well, assuming this project goes forward. It's permitted to go ahead and we can install it. And that's one of the reasons we're going through the permitting now, so we could make that move. The closure of the, there was a withdrawal well on there. You have to, if you withdraw more than 50,000 gallons of water a day, you have to have a withdrawal well permit. Century Brass had one. I found out about it. We terminated that withdrawal well permit. By having it there, it's an access for groundwater to any contamination to go down that well. So I had it terminated, clean closed and filed with the state. Closure Plan Part 2 was submitted to DEP and EPA on November 2022. The soil and concrete piles that would remain there from the destruction of the building were removed in December 2022. The lawsuit was settled in 2023. We negotiated a lawsuit settlement. Again, the town council approved the conditions of the lawsuit, and conditions of the lawsuit included storing the equipment there because part of the negotiation with the judge was that there's a financial agreement between the town and the other party, Stanford Wrecking, that they will store equipment on town property, and we collect taxes off that equipment. That's part of the settlement agreement, which was approved by the town council. Excuse me? They've done it. Oh, it's there. He's got a little camera on it, and he's done his part. In January of this year, we filed an 8-24 with the Planning Commission that was approved in their January meeting. So if the town decides to go forward with the Public Works facility there, the Planning Commission has approved the 8-24. We filed a permit with the Inland Wetlands in March of this year, and then in April of this year, as part of some of the work we're doing over there, we discovered another underground storage tank. Fortunately, it was a water tank. It's a pressure tank for water. We had it sampled, we had it removed, and that is now gone. We did that in April of this year. A couple of the ancillary uses, because I know we've talked about this. Again, the temporary construction trailer is there under a permit. We also have a permit for storm-related debris management. That was part of, remember Storm Isaias? We got that from Frank Gagliardo at the DEP. We have a permit from the state to store wood, a wood pile there, which we do is for storm debris and materials that we cut down. That's the pile that's there, and we normally used to grind it up and have to pay for it to get rid of it. We now pay, instead of $30,000 or more, we now pay $5,000. A contractor splits it, and we give it to the residents for free. They gotta come and pick it up. So I think
that goes in about a day.
Oh, yeah, that's about it. It goes pretty quick.
And Jack, just one more time for Stephanie, and for those that are watching and those in the audience again, we have a permit for wood.
Yeah, from DEP, yep.
On Century Brass. Okay, good news.
We have bins for storage of soil as part of our inland wetlands permits when we go to inland wetlands for our bridge projects. It used to be that there was a lot of discussion about the contractor would bring in soil and would have invasives in it. The inland wetlands, Jim Furlow worked with us, and we agreed between us and inland wetlands that we would create bins there, so when they take, like they're doing Mariel Bridge shortly, they'll be removing some soil, they will take it, they will store it at Century Brass, and then they will take it back, so we're not bringing soil from out of town, it's soil that we're just moving it. And we did that for Upland Road. We actually had a surplus from Upland Road, so we kept it, so, but we did that for the Upland Road Bridge, and that's something we've worked out with inland wetlands. You will see soil piles on site. I've talked to zoning about that. That soil is being deposited and stored there because our intent is eventually, when I got here, the idea was that they're going to remove this slab at quite a cost. I've had experience where we design caps for slabs. The idea is we're going to cap that slab with about 4 to 5 feet of material, and the idea is we'd like to put solar panels on it. That's the mayor. I've also, since finding out from Eversource about a capacity issue, I've rethought some things. We can go with hybrid solar panels, which would allow us to generate electricity for the site, but it also lets us generate hot water. The idea is that the building, if we were to build it there, I would have the floor monolithically poured with radiant pipes in it. We would take the heat off the solar panels and preheat the slab and have it act as a big heat sink and help control the cost of the facility. The equipment storage I talked about, it's a part of the lawsuit settlement, and then snowplow storage is one of the things we went to zoning, and they said it would be okay for us to store the snowplows there. That we did to get it off Patriots Way, so we could, if you remember, it used to be all stored on Patriots Way. We moved it off, we put the grass there, we created a little, the walkway that was there, and then the pollinator gardens. So that was something we had done for that. So that's just some of what's gone on and how we got here. It's the $4 million. Because if we moved, we have to move the recycling center, there's new criteria for that. We applied to EPA for a grant. Unfortunately, it's a competitive grant. We were close, we didn't get it. EPA had offered to have a call with us. We've gone through the grant. So next time the grant application came up, if we want to do it again, we can apply for that grant, and that would help pay for just the recycling part of that project if we were to do it. So that's just some information.
Jack, you just explained, how many permits, like 5 or 6 total or something like that? You just
There's
a bunch.
Yeah.
So if I was a member of the public and I wanted to say, I was driving by Century Brass and I saw all this work going on and I said, gee, I wonder if they have a permit. Are those permits made accessible to the public to go down to zoning and wetlands to find
Yeah,
them?
like any permit, they're available to the public.
So if someone had an issue, they could go there and say, oh, yes, they do have a permit. So see Jim at wetlands or see Laura at zoning, and they would find those facts.
Yeah.
And they would know that there's been permits for those. So it's basically easy. It could be a phone call away, it could go on a computer, you could stop down to town during hours. Thank you.
Mayor?
Mayor, this was once a brown fields.
Yes, sir.
And when I was in your position, we had a lot of problems with the site. Building, people left. What happened to the lagoon?
The lagoon was clean closed in 2008.
I'm sorry?
It was clean closed in 2000. Clean closed means there's a process when you have those old lagoons, you have to scoop it out and you go through a sampling protocol,
They
and then
did
they're backfilled and then they're sampled and they call it a clean closure. So those lagoons are under a clean closure
Okay.
approval. Yep.
Thank you.
Chris and then Mary Jane.
Jack, I appreciate the education, and I just want to, make a statement that anybody out there who says or even implies that Jack or anybody on his team are cutting corners out there, that is just never true. I've worked with Jack in a few different projects. One of them was a scenic road project. And there was some give and take on road striping and that, and Jack's, and believe me, Jack knows the municipal codes and regulations, the national codes and regulations. He knows them backwards and forwards, probably knows them better than the people who are writing them. And he stated, well, you can't, I propose we do something that I saw another town had just done. And he said, nope, there's the code, we can't do it. He wouldn't do it, and because it's not right. And so he's not cutting any corners on anything, and neither is anybody on his team. So people that are making those claims out there just need to stop it. And people, if anybody has an issue, Jack is a very good guy. He answers his emails, telephone calls, and if you got an issue, you think that maybe they're doing something wrong, you ask him. And he'll probably, I'll guarantee you, he's going to tell you why he's done it, and whatever he's doing, he's got a darn good reason to do it.
Mary Jane?
What exactly are the environmental issues that we're still facing with the property?
Okay, the slab is one. It has PCBs on it at low levels, but it's low levels, but it's above, it's 50 parts per million. And since it's just above that, you can't use the slab as it is. And the PCBs are, when they get in there, they absorb, they move down through, because concrete's a porous substance. So the options there is to remove it. Second option is to scarify it, which is, then you're doing this thing where you're cutting it off and you keep moving down. Or the third thing is, what I'm proposing to do is just cap it. And you put a cap on top of it, and you can use on top of the cap, and so it's a designed cap. We have to investigate all of the underground pipes, the drain pipes that are under there. There's some what they call areas of concern. Originally, there was about 20-25 areas of concern on the facility. I think they're down to like 4 or 5. We have to do individual samples there to see if there's any contaminants that we need to work on. So we'll be investigating those and capping it, and that's about all that's left. And then it's doing some monitoring. There's a compliance schedule with EPA that we're working on with them. I really need to have them. We submitted the second part of the closure plan in October 2022. They have not. We've asked them to respond. There's been a big turnover at DEP and EPA. The people who were working on it previously are retired and moved on. It's unusual to give this long a time before you get a response. We've asked them, our consultants asked them. So, you know, we're continuing on with what we would do under the closure plan. We aren't varying from it, but we still have to do that. So we'll be looking at that. And plus, I think it's the expansion joints. We have to look at the expansion joints in the concrete slab. So it's going to be ongoing, and you know that will be. So sometimes you see us out there, we're working. That's what we're doing. We have TRC doing work on that, so that we can just keep moving along. The one thing you don't want to do on when you're working with DEP and EPA is you don't want to stop. As long as you're making progress and and they don't feel that there's an imminent hazard. And I've checked through the records, and the things that would be imminent hazards were checked off several years ago as being there's no like exposure to human health. So that's the first thing. If they feel that they're under some type of an evaluation that there's a risk, you do a risk assessment. If they felt there was a risk assessment, a risk to human health and the environment, they would have us doing things more aggressively.
And then, Jack, staying on before the team does the presentation. So there's a grant that the Economic Development Corporation received, they won, to do some remediation, not work, but surveys and updates on the DPW facility. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. There's been conjecture again by some people saying, oh, well, that's nefarious. How can we see that? Because the Economic Development Corporation is its own self. So, Jack, for those, again, watching on TV, those are on the town council here, and those are in the audience. The town itself couldn't apply for the grant because it is a polluter, correct?
Yeah.
So, like all the other towns, it'd be a Waterbury, it'd be a Danbury, it would be like the other areas. They would use their Economic Development Corporation or something similar to apply for a grant like that so that they could get that.
Yeah. If you read the paper, there's and I don't mind talking about this one, there's one in Waterbury at 695 South Main Street in Waterbury. It's the old American Brass tube mill. I started working there, so I know about tube mills. And in 1978 to 80, the state gave a grant to Anaconda to renovate that and make it into a metal hose plant, which was eventually sold to the Animet Corporation. Animet went out of business probably around 2000, 2004. The city of Waterbury has been stuck with it since. Their Economic Development Commission, through the mayor, got a grant, and they're cleaning that up right now. That's a site. I'm glad I'm not having to clean that one up, but that one is a huge site. There's a book out about the Naugatuck Valley. In there's a whole chapter where they allowed somebody to go in and take pictures of it, in its dilapidated state. And it's amazing to see what has occurred. But under that facility, there's miles of tunnels. I used to go down there with my wrench and hit the walls to keep the river rats away. So they're remediating that site now.
But then again, another good use.
Yeah.
As we've reinvigorated the Economic Development Corporation, do what it's supposed to do, which is access grants and funding that a municipality could not get to help offset these costs that would have to be fully borne by our taxpayer.
Yeah, and they're doing the normal process, phase 1, phase 2, what you normally would do.
I just think it's important, as Alex said, some people just may not know, and they may concoct in their own mind or push out to the public the narrative that, this is some inside thing. We're not being transparent at all. This is being done through the corporation because it's the only way we can access that kind of funding for that.
And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, UConn offered, and they had their students come out and do a gap analysis on the information we had. So they came out and studied our records and did a walk through the facilities, and then they gave out a gap analysis on where we stood.
then Jack, because we are the owner of the property, once this is completed and the results come back, then it becomes public to our taxpayers, correct?
Yeah. It's all public record.
Okay, just want to make sure so the public can see. Alex, sorry.
Zach, what's the source of the drinking water on the property?
It's city water.
It's on Aquarium?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's city water, city sewer there.
How far does it go?
Which,
It goes along
it actually comes under the railroad tracks. There was a 1957, in the map, you can find a 1957 easement under the railroad. So if you go up Housatonic, it goes about halfway up the facility, there's you don't see it, there's a pipe that goes underneath, and the storm sewer, the sanitary sewer, and the water go in there.
Got it. Thank you.
And Alex, I know we'll talk about it more when we get to the PFAS initiative, but if you just, because it was brought up, you can go to the Aquarian website, and Aquarian's one of the very few water companies that have been testing for several years. But you can actually go to their website, click on New Milford, and you can see the results for the bigger system.
Yeah.
And that's all under 4, I believe,
Yeah,
as of right now. But you can look on the site, and you can see that as well.
I just want our guys to have healthy water.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have that if you want to go through it.
Absolutely.
Mike?
Mike?
All right, so we were here probably about a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer, with this, basically the same presentation. It shows really the reason for doing this. So we went to, myself, Jack, and Chris, I've actually been there 3 times, to the Waterford DPW facility, which is a fairly new facility. Okay, so it's about a year then. But we looked at a few facilities, Jack and I, and this is the one that we really lean towards the most for us. So I'm going to start the slides and we'll go through them all again. So this is the Waterford facility. Like the Century Brass property, it's set off the main road. It's back away, like it has the tree line hiding it. We don't have all of that, but we're close. But it doesn't have like direct public access like we have now. Where there's cars driving in and out with our equipment all the time, and sometimes it gets a little crazy with just our guys coming to work in the morning, having to cross Youngsfield Road. It's a fairly big facility. It's actually smaller than what we need. They're a smaller town; they have less equipment. It's basically what we're looking for, though. I mean, it's clean, welcoming to look at when you drive up to it. It looks professional, and this is what we have now. So this building right here was built in like 1942, and it goes all the way up to I think 1975 over here, something like that. So it's an old facility. They put in the Riverwalk across the street. We share the parking lot with anybody that wants to come and enjoy it. There's not enough parking for our guys most days. We actually park up the road, some people, because there's not enough room. We don't have enough room in buildings for all of our equipment. We have storage trailers all over the facility because we just don't have enough room.
Mike, can you show where back up a little bit? Just show them where the diesel tank sits too.
Oh yeah, okay. This is our current diesel tank here. At one point, there was diesel and gasoline in-ground tanks. We had to have them removed. We chose just to go with diesel. That tank will be moved to Century Brass, and we will add a gasoline tank to it. So we can use the same equipment, we're just going to move it down there. We can use the same filling system, everything. So Mike, before you go to the next one, just as an ROI, return on investment, so that our public can understand. Normally, how many plow trucks are sitting outside? Well, we have, I'm going to say somewhere in the range to maybe 10. But it's not just the trucks. I mean, there's... No, I'm just saying, just for right now. So you got 10 trucks sitting outside. Yep. We have bays, believe it or not, that we have to put smaller equipment in because some of the big trucks don't fit in the bays. Right. So right now, a truck, because we're getting some, right? They're coming in at what? 285,000. Okay. So that's $2,850,000 just for some trucks.
And the
There's,
fact that.
there's an excavator out there too, right? And a couple
Yeah.
excavators?
We have our wheeled excavator, we have a couple of smaller mini excavators. If you look, whoops, wrong button, sorry. If you look, we can use this picture along here, all our mowers, tractors, sweepers, everything sits outside.
And Mike, not to hold you to it, but the mowers, what do they run?
I'm sorry?
What do they run?
I think the last one we bought was in the 180 range.
Okay, so 180, and how many are there? 3?
There's 4. We have 5 total, but we
Okay.
acquired one from youth agency.
So with inflation, and I'm gonna bump it up to 200, times 5, that's another $1 million.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we're at 3.8 million. What else is over there, Mike?
That's our old grader. We now have a brand new one that replaced that one at 350,000. So we have 2 of those.
So that's 600,000 there.
Yeah.
And where I'm getting at is, when you see all this machinery sitting outside in the millions, right? That our taxpayers, they work hard for the money. And if you can get 3 or 4 or 5 extra years out of this equipment because you take care of it and it's inside, that's a big, huge cost savings. If you have to continually have to reinvest earlier in your equipment because it's outside, that's a big drain to the taxpayer. Hence why we're looking at making this type of investment. This is one of the many reasons. Chris?
I just want to make another point, similar, but in terms of savings, in terms of efficiencies, my understanding is, I don't know that any bay or very few bays in the wintertime, when you've got a plow truck with a plow and a sander on it, they won't fit in the bay anyways, right? And so the guy, when he finishes his shift, he's got to unhook it and unhook both and to
These
park
two
it inside.
buildings, there's 7 bays in these 2 buildings that you can fit a plow into. And that's it, out of 24 frontline trucks that we use.
So all the time wasted hooking and unhooking sanders and plows.
Right.
Yep.
And then another big issue we're having is the parking lot that goes around the back here where we store all the equipment is gravel. We are not allowed to pave it because of aquifer and drainage issues and stuff like that. That gravel holds salt. You get a rainstorm, the salt bounces up onto the equipment, up underneath it, everywhere. We're constantly finding issues with rust, rot. It gets in the electrical and it rots out wires. It's not good. So we have 2 trucks sitting in the lot now that are being replaced that we pulled out of service because they're just so rusted that we can't put them on the road.
Alex?
Over this past weekend, it was very noticeable. The entire place was filled with vehicles outside. And what I thought about was vandalism.
Yeah.
Is it an issue?
It was. We have cameras up now that looks at every inch of it basically. We had at one point 8 catalytic converters stolen. And they're between 1,200 and 2,000 a piece to replace. So we've had windows broken. We've had kids on the roof just hanging out on the building. So yeah, it's definitely happened. It's a lot of equipment to sit outside, and we cross our fingers every day that somebody doesn't come in there and get hurt, just looking at the stuff or.
Absolutely.
You never know.
That's exactly what struck me, because that one truck with the trailer and the equipment on it, right in front, to me was, what do they call that, an attractive nuisance, right?
Yeah.
And that, there's liability there.
Sure. That's, the plan for the new building would have everything inside. Doors would be closed, it'd be locked up. They'd be able to get to the building and that's it. So if you look at the ages now, the first building was built in 1940. That's building 1. Building 2 was 42. 3 was 60. Building 4 over here was 1960. And then this was 75. This was built in 1942. It's a big steel building, but it was moved on the site afterwards. I don't know exactly when it was moved on site. It rains almost as much inside that building now as it does outside. So there's chunks of roof. You can see the patch right there. That's a patch. Well, there's a lot more of those on the roof now.
Mayor?
How is your maintenance and equipment facility
Oh,
going
you'll
to
see.
be improved?
You'll see. Oh, in the new place?
Yes.
I can show you with the slides when we get to it.
Okay, because I think that was one of the concerns you've had for years. I mean, that was You couldn't even move in that place.
It's still that way. And they cleaned out about 14 tons worth of steel and crud at, what, a year and a half ago out of that building. So yeah, it's, anyways, this is just more pictures around. Like if you look down here where our salt sand pile is, you can see the salt. You can see it along here where the trucks sit. That's what's causing the biggest issue with our equipment. It sits there and it gets knocked up onto the equipment. We have our one crosswalk here for the employees when they're crossing the street. Sometimes we come in when it's dark out. There's a light here that really doesn't do much help, and there's a light here that really doesn't help. So, it's very unsafe sometimes getting across that street. If you look at the front of our building, I mean, we do our best to keep it neat, but it's just old. It's not as accommodating looking. So this is our total facility in this part of the town. So this is our current facility. This is our yard here. Recycling facilities and our pipe yard are here. And then we have some stuff stored at Century Brass. So we're spread out through this whole area. And if we do get into Century Brass, all that would be just in one place. We have another building down the old Church building at 533 Danbury Road. We share that with the PD and Park and Rec. And we store sweepers and summer equipment in that. And we have all the oil tank and the stone and everything for the pothole truck is stored there. But it's 4.6 miles from our main facility. So you know it's like trying to get down Route 7. So sometimes it takes a while to get stuff in and out of there. We have tractors that we store in there that go 20 miles an hour. If we got to move them from our facility down, it takes a while. And then again, that's another building it's locked up, but it's not alarmed or anything, and it's pretty easy to probably break into if somebody really wanted to. This is Waterford's facility. So you come in the front door and you've got a wide open lobby. It's neat, it's clean. This is what we have now. You can barely fit 3 people in there, believe it or not. It's tight. The office spaces, everything's large, bright. This is more of their hallways. I mean, it's a good sized building. And this is what we have. So this right here is what's right inside the front door when you come in from that main lobby. Naya sits here, Holly's in here. The men's room is right here. The 2 girls are sitting right next to the men's room, which, trust me, becomes an issue sometimes for them. To the right here is the garage. So when they're banging on equipment and running power tools, that's all you hear in the office. That's all you hear in the office. You come up the stairs here, and you've got, the plotter and all the stations here. There's an office here, and another one in the back, and then Jack's office here. They're all crammed into one room, basically. And Chuck's in this office here. There's just no room for anything in this place. And it's not ADA compliant. It's stairs. There's no elevator. We had an issue last year with somebody being sick. We had to call an ambulance, and we had to use the stairs. And it would have been nice to be able to use an elevator. This is the foreman's office in Waterford. This is the foreman's office. This is our office. So this is my desk. This is where Chris sits. It was Chuck, but now it's Chris. And then we use these 2 for training. And this is the winter snow desk. We're pretty much crammed in there. And we have to run the air conditioner in there year round because in the winter with the heat on downstairs, we can't breathe upstairs. It gets so hot. So it's a poorly designed building. This is the break room for 14 members they have 14 people that use that break room in Waterford. We have 30, 34, 35 that use, this is the main break room, and then we have a table out in one of the garage bays. There's a couple vending machines right here. There's not enough room. This is their conference room. It's big area. You can put people in there. This is what we have. We have a little table, and we actually don't have enough room for storage, so we have to store things there. This is another area we have for storage. This is all we have for storage in that building. So at this point, we can't keep anything else up there. This is their training room. They have a room for training with TVs on the wall and all that stuff. Again, this is our training room, our little cafeteria looking thing. There's actually a little TV there that we can use if we need to. But you can't, you put 30 people in that room and it's standing room only. This is their bathroom. This is my favorite part here. This is their bathroom with lockers and showers and plenty of room. This is ours. So we have 2 stalls and 2 urinals for 33 guys. This door is the one shower that's hidden behind all the storage, the facility stuff to store. So, Jack's wife was kind enough to get us a shower curtain. We didn't even have that before. So, this is their truck bays. Like I say, it's all big. Everything's inside under a big roof. They have special fans. They have special venting that goes through there so you can run equipment in there. If the CO2 level gets too high, it kicks on fans and opens up vents. They got the heated floors in there. This is what we have. So this is building 1. This is the building that our office is, that Chris and I's office in. There's, I think, 7 trucks to park in there. And that's all the room they have, basically. There's like no room between them. And everything is just old and dirty. And we clean these a couple times a year, but it's tough to keep them neat. This is trying to get a truck in the bay, so I use it as an example. There's barely enough room to get these trucks inside. The 2 new trucks we have coming won't fit in that door. We have a big problem with as the trucks get newer, they get a little bigger, a little wider, and we can't get them inside the buildings. And you'll never get a plow in there, a truck with a plow. So this is their garage in Waterford. This is what we would like to see in our facility. You've got all the liquids and materials, ready to go, hanging. They have a big room with all the tanks that everything hooks to. They have a 100-ton jack in the floor. They can pick up anything. They can work on anything. A fully loaded plow truck, a fully loaded Vector truck, anything. They can put it on that jack and work on it. Because a lot of times things, like if a sander breaks down in a truck, they can't fix it without somebody physically shoveling the sander out so they can put it up on a jack. Their doors are big. There's plenty of room for them to work. They have a neat part storage room. We have this. This they use for cars. These 4 portable jacks they use for the big trucks. This is our grader, one of our graders. You can't walk behind this. You have to go outside and around the building and come back in. This is our part storage up here. It's a shelf, or you can walk up there. It's just not adequate. This is where they keep their liquids and such. That's our garage. That's it. You don't get anything more. We have a welding bay, but that's it. So this is with it less equipment in it, but that's what you see. Our facilities department. So they're in as bad a shape as we are, pretty much. They're in the old ambulance building. They have a meeting room here. A small office space, and then the guys where they work in their workshop, they're all crammed in with their tools. I think there's room for one vehicle inside that they park in at night. Everything else has to stay outside. And we had an issue here, not recently, but right around the same time with catalytic converters being stolen. They lost a lot out of most of their vehicles that were outside. This is their recycle center. Everything is, so you come in this way and everything is just thrown down into dumpsters. That's what our goal is for the new facilities, to be like that. It makes life easier. You don't have the public mixing with the trucks when they're trying to take trucks out or dumpsters out of the facility. This is our recycle center. I'm sure most of you have been there. It's pretty cramped, and they're actually doing a little more. They took the tent down now. There's a container in there for them to start doing the bottle returns. Generators. So they have this humongous generator that powers the whole facility. We have this one here that runs this one building. So if the power goes out, we're the only building of the guys that has heat or electricity or water. We have another generator that runs the garage and the front office. We just had to replace that one because it wasn't very reliable. But this is an updated plan now. This is what we presented to Inland Wetlands for the new facility. So I took the old, we had an old design in there. I just took that out and added the new one. But that's why the main reason why we want to do this is just we need to upgrade. We need to get stuff inside, and it's time. It's past time.
Mike, can you send this to me in email?
I can.
Mike, is this available for the public to see at all on the website or anything? Or can it be downloaded onto a website? The slide that you just showed?
I don't believe so. I'll put it on the,
Just for the
the
public
Fix New
that
Milford
wanna
site,
see it.
absolutely.
Paul?
Mike, this is the same presentation that you gave to the town council back last year on
Correct.
April 10th, and it hasn't changed. It's
No,
worse
oh,
now.
no. No, no.
One slide.
Yeah, just the last slide of the
Last
facility,
slide.
that's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just pulled this out of my records back home. Everybody here that was on the town council has seen this. I just want the public to be aware of the fact we saw this stuff over a year ago. And as town council, I think we actually decided it needed to be done now, back then. So obviously, we need to move forward. And,
I concur.
Alex and Doug?
Couple questions.
Sure.
How many female employees in the DPW?
Right now, we have none.
We have crew.
Well, okay.
In the office?
In the office, there is, yes.
office, yeah, a couple.
We had one of the drivers.
Right.
Okay. And do you know when, Waterford's is the model for you. Do you know when they constructed all this?
They opened their new facility 2 years ago,
Okay.
possibly 2.5
Do you
years
have,
ago.
do you have an idea of how much it cost them at the time?
I don't. I don't.
Okay.
It was
Do-
an O&G project, O&G, design build with O&G.
Okay.
And I think we have an estimate or a cost from them that we can get.
Just curious, I know it's over 2 years old. That's not the point.
I think
It was,
in the range of $16 to $20 million.
okay, I mean, I'm sure, a lot.
that's about right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and any idea how they funded it?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
The
I
way-
have it too.
Doug and Mary Jane?
So my great presentation, I can attest as a business owner, I own a vehicle that's substantially a lot of money. And the vehicle's been inside 365 days a year. And that vehicle's 22 years old. It has 300,000 miles on it, and I take care of it because it's indoors. And I believe that having, like the state had over by Big Y and the one down near the Brookfield and Brookfield and the Milford line,
Right.
they built facilities big enough to put their things in. And there's no greater asset than being able to work on and having your stuff inside to be proactive to the longevity of keeping the investment that we're putting in. Like the mayor said, these vehicles aren't $50,000, $60,000.
Right.
Some of them are $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And if we can build a facility like this and prolong maybe 50, 60, 70% longer of life on these things, then the investment will pay for itself.
Right.
So thank you guys for the
So after every snowstorm, every piece of equipment that touches salt gets washed. We do it all winter. We'll do it after every storm.
outside too.
Well, no, we have, next to the facilities, we have the wash bay that's inside.
Okay.
But then we have to drive it back to Public Works, and some of it parks outside, like I said, and it's still getting the salt splashed up onto it and
Right.
things, so.
Plus, it's dealing with the weather.
Yeah.
The
and new-
freezing, the cold.
The dampness, just the humidity alone, the salt will stick.
So that
The new
affects belts,
facilities-
hoses, tires, everything else in that vehicle.
Right, but the new facility, the wash bay you will drive into and then drive into the building. So
Right.
you won't be outside again.
Right.
You won't be in the salt again.
It affords the gradient heating which benefits the trucks also, dries.
Right. And you showed where they had like oils and hydraulic fluids in that building in Waterford.
Right.
And you guys would have a better access to not only time-wise, changing the oils, keeping up with these things, as opposed to being a smaller area where it's tougher to
Right.
hold
Our
and
guys
store
have
this.
two of those. One's oil, one's one type of transmission fluid.
Right.
But with the equipment we have, there's like 5 different types of transmission fluid we have to
Right.
use, so.
Mary Jane?
So I know I've asked this question before. How many acres do you plan to use, and how many acres is the property?
Well, the property is like 50-something acres. Now, of that, there's a significant amount of it is Eversource right-of-ways. You'll know the transmission lines, we can't go there. The one that comes out along Scoville Street, we can't go there. So that knocks it down quite a bit. Then as you come in, the entranceway is in the floodplain. Because originally, I was trying to design the building to go in the entranceway to use the elevation change, to have two stories. You can't, talking to WMC when we started doing the inland wetlands design, They said you can't do that without doing a lot of, so we moved the building back onto the property. We're probably gonna use probably about 20 acres of it, but a lot of that now is taken up by the concrete slab. Concrete slab's about 360,000 square feet, so we'll be covering that with a cap and then putting the solar panels on that. So we keep narrowing it down, and then there's a stormwater, if you looked on the picture, there's a stormwater, we have to put in a retention pond that we have to put in for our design, so that'll take up some of it. And then there's Mike's, the yard that we're bringing down. They come
Do on that as opposed, I mean, Jack is here enough meetings as it is, I would hate to make him come to more. That's all I'm thinking.
Doesn't need to
It's a
bring the
slow
whole
process.
team. I said brief update.
Yeah, but-
That's what we're looking for.
Right, but the fact, even if he's here for 5 minutes, that means he's here for 5 minutes at 7 o'clock at night instead of home with his family. That's my only thought.
Well, we appreciate
We'll
you
work
coming
it out.
tonight, that's for sure.
My wife would be happy if I'm here.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
next is the results of the traffic study. Chuck?
Mr. Mayor, it's 9:27. I think you have to extend your meeting at 9:30.
Thought it was 10.
It's 9:30. No, 9:30.
Okay, make a
Okay.
motion, someone make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to
extend.
make a motion, we extend the meeting, since it's almost 9:30 till 10 o'clock.
Any discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, Chuck.
We're taking a moment of silence here.
Yes, Tom.
We're
We're-
putting up a presentation for
I couldn't see. Sorry.
the engineering
The,
studies. Yep.
All right, good evening, council, mayor. My name is Chuck Ballard, design engineer for the town of New Milford. I'm here to present the reports from the Grove Street intersection study. There's really no start date to this, but last year, about a year from now, after hearing from residents, councils, and concerns about accidents, traffic on Grove Street, particularly at the intersections of Fordyce Road and Hine Hill Road, we went out and consulted an engineering firm to go out and take a look at this road, take a look at the intersections, do some initial traffic studies to see what can be done to make this road safer. During that process, we had a virtual meeting back on August 31st of last year. And I want to say 20 or so people attended that meeting. And their comments were, there was a concern for turning left onto Grove Street from Hine Hill Road. Probably the number one concern we heard. Also, Fordyce Road posed a hazardous intersection. There was a concern about speeding on Lower Grove and Fordyce and Hine Hill. And there was a sense that traffic control devices, such as traffic signals at the intersections of Grove and Fordyce and Grove and Hine Hill, will be needed to address the safety concerns. So with that, the engineering firm went back and did some crash data studies. So these are updated from the initial report. This encompasses 20 to 23 full years. So Grove Street, Fordyce Hill, 30 crashes, 33% involved injuries, 67% property damage only. Crash type, 60% angle, 27% side swipe, and 13% rear end collisions. It was noted angle crashes typically related to limited sight distance and commonly corrected by signalizing. Hine Hill Road at Grove, same time period, there were 70 crashes just at that one intersection. 40% involved injuries, 60% property damage only. 46% were angle crashes, 44% were rear end. Same explanation. Angle crashes typically related to limited sight distance. Their recommendations for Fordyce at Grove was remove the stop sign, install traffic signals, remove the existing stop bar, install new stop bars further up the road, install signal ahead signage, install a speed table, and clear the vegetation. This is a mock-up conceptually of what that would look like at Fordyce. You see the overhead mast arms, one located on Fordyce, one located going across Grove. Stop bars situated where they are. Pine Hill Road and Grove, it was the same recommendation. Remove what's there, replace with an overhead signal, add some signal ahead signage, add a speed table on Hine Road, clear the vegetation. This would be a conceptual plan of what that would look like. Again, 2 overhead mast arms, signals all directions, relocation of stop bars. They recommend the speed tables. One on Fordyce, one on Hine Hill, one on Grove. This is an example of a speed table. This one's located on Grove Street in between the 2 intersections. After they were done with that, we went back and said, give us a supplemental report, please. And we want to know, if we go forward with this, how do we get funding? If we go through LOTSIP or WestCog, what are they going to need? And one thing they do need is level of service and delays. And there's traffic signal warrants that have to be met in order to get approval on this for funding. So they went back and looked at the level of service. Grove Street and Fordyce Road, A in eastbound direction, northbound, southbound. D coming off Fordyce. Grove Street at Hine Hill, same thing, northbound and southbound, no delays currently, but an F coming out of Hine Hill. You look at the wait times, 60-second coming off Hine Hill, 62 in the PM. So they take these numbers, they put it in their fancy calculations and computer programming, and they come up with a number after signalization. I think one concern with a signal is increased wait times. How is it going to benefit people coming off Hine Road, Fordyce? Is it going to slow down traffic? So on Grove Street and Fordyce Road, northbound and southbound on Grove, in the morning, 3 or 4 seconds is what it's going to add on average to a commute time. In the PM, it's less than that, 1.7 and 2.1. I'm sorry, 1.9 and 1.7. Significantly cuts the wait time on Fordyce as well, down to 23 and 20. If you look at Grove Street and Hine Hill, you'll see the difference as well. Coming off Hine Hill Road, you're down to 37 seconds, both AM and PM. It only adds 5.5 to 7.8 in the morning, 7.9 to 4.5 in the afternoon. We asked for a cost estimate. Now this is inclusive of all their recommendations from KSC. Traffic signals are not cheap. So 4 overhead mast arms, signals, line striping, new signage, controllers, $626,000 for this setup.
That's for both intersections?
Yes, Don.
Correct. That was an estimate for both.
Thank you.
So we, in the engineering department, thought to ourselves, all right, well, what's the alternative? You know, after listening to the public and what they said at the virtual meeting and talking, no through trucks. Well, that's already in place.
Right.
And if you've ever been on that road, you could see how well it works.
Yeah.
Because they're allowed to come to New Milford locations and leave from New Milford locations. So trucks are allowed in that road. How about just no trucks? Well, that eliminates Amazon trucks, garbage trucks, propane trucks, oil trucks. It's not very feasible to eliminate all trucks on that road. How about a no left turn was one suggestion. Very possible. That would, the highest crash rate is people generally taking that left turn. Well, if you do that, there's 1,400 people average takes that left turn. If they're not coming down Hine Hill, where are they going to go? They're going to go down Fordyce. Maybe we make that no left turn. We'll add even more numbers. They're going to go all the way down to 67 to Grove and make that left turn, or just go straight across the bridge. which is already a congested road. Number 2, congested in our whole cog. How about more signs?
Can I ask you a quick question? Did you have the left turn for Fordyce on there at all?
I do not have that on here.
So I'm sure it'd be less.
Well, give me 1 second. Oh, actually, no, I don't have that paperwork with me. I will.
I have one other question too, before you got too far. What were the speed bumps on that, like 3 or 4 back? It had speed bumps there. Where would they be?
The speed humps, so if we go back a couple.
No, you went too far. I think it was in the.
So speed humps, speed tables, similar to the raised crosswalks on the green. A traffic calming method used to slow vehicles down works well in isolated locations with low speeds. Engineering firm recommends it here. Us as a DPW engineering, we are not recommending this. It's a danger, it's a liability, especially on an open road like Grove. The acceleration of
No,
vehicles.
I understand that. In your spreadsheet, it said 626,000. It said speed bumps. See where it says speed bumps?
Correct.
Where would those go?
Those should say speed humps.
Okay.
Those are the same. This is from the engineering firm. I
So
think
you
they
would
just-
have those as well as the lights themselves? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Well, what he's saying, that's what the engineering firm recommended. All of
Right.
this.
Correct.
Okay.
This
He's gonna
slide
go
is
through their recommendation.
This slide is directly from their recommendation right now, and that's total cost encompassing everything, all of theirs.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask,
Okay.
how do the guys driving the snowplows feel about those bumps?
Yeah.
You could probably ask some of them. They're not a fan. Yeah. So there's issue with speed humps. Plowing is one. Obviously, you have to slow down. So that cuts down on the amount of clearing you could do. It's damaging to the plows if going too fast. There's concerns about drainage, so engineering has to be done to make sure the road has proper drainage.
It's okay, you can
And then-
stop.
That was their recommendation, that's one of their recommendations
Yeah, that's,
here. So it's
that's
not,
an easy 15,000 to remove from this budget.
doesn't mean we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is presented from as they gave to us. More
This
signs?
is very comprehensive, thank you.
They-
Still going.
Signs don't work.
Yeah, it's not- we're not done yet.
Signs don't work.
More signs. How about we add a slow sign? That'll slow them down. Or maybe we reduce the speed, but OSTA won't let us do that. The median speed on Lower Grove is around 49 miles an hour. The median speed on Upper Grove is closer to 40-ish. How about a roundabout?
Everybody's favorite.
We did investigate this. Unfortunately, there is not enough land there to put a roundabout. Not even a mini, not even a peanut, not even any style they've created yet. Unless we're looking to cantilever it out over the river or buy up a bunch of property.
Be a scenic roundabout.
It's unfortunately not an option.
No.
Enforcement. We could station an officer there 24/7 or
Yeah, no.
enforce some traffic, but.
Cheaper to
And
put up the
the
lights.
PD does a great job. I don't think they want to be burdened with this task more than they do, but they do the best they can. So what the recommendation would be is for an advanced traffic control system. You'll see them in town and the railroad street in front of the hospital. 360 cameras, similar to what's on there. It tracks movement.
So Chuck, just, because people do ask, so when you're going up Bridge Street, Railroad Street, and you see the cameras, some people think those are speed cameras. Some people think those are traffic light enforcement cameras, but actually they are control systems.
Correct. The Connecticut DOT has spent a lot of time and money investing into these systems. They have done them on Bridge Street already. If you go to the end of Railroad and Bridge, you look up at the light, you'll see a dome hanging down. It's a 360-degree camera. It's not to check license plates, it's not to check speeds. It's actually, the software doesn't do any of that. It's purposely does not have enough pixel quality to pick up a license plate. It's done that intentionally. But what it does do is monitor traffic. So it will tell you when a car is stopped and how many, how long it sits there, and it'll remember. And it'll tell you, the sophisticated ones will tell you pedestrian crossings. It could differentiate between a truck, a motorcycle, a car, a bike. It could tell you when somebody is crossing the road and prevent a green light from going green if somebody's in that roadway. So the technology has come a long way.
So that means you don't need the sensors under the road?
Correct. No more cutting into the road for the traffic loops that have been going on for years and years, and, epic failure of a brand-new road. Why cut into it? This eliminates that.
So that would see a car, see a person, and if there is no car or no person, then it allows the traffic to move.
Correct.
That's great.
The idea, should we go forward with this, would be, it would be a green light for Grove, and only when something queues up a side road would it transfer it to something else. And this new system's 100% programmable, so you could change queue times and lengths for AM and PM. I'm sure AI is going to take it over one day and allow it to think for itself and start altering to know when traffic is heaviest and change the pattern, just so we could emphasize Grove Street keeps flowing smoothly and people get out of those side roads safely.
And you can make it flashing in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock, like some lights do as well.
Guidance goes against that theory now.
Right.
You'll notice Connecticut DOT does not do that anymore as well. The
The one
thought,
at 7-Eleven and Route 7 does.
does that one still? Okay.
It still blinks.
I know they've changed
Till
most
about
of them.
5 o'clock, it still blinks.
Okay. Maybe not all of them, but when asked in the past, why don't you make them all on Route 7 do that? The answer was the guidance goes against that because people then get used to it blinking and just assume they could just run it.
Okay.
Or they'll look up for 1 second and think it's a yellow and floor it, or vice versa. So it's not what they do.
I really like this.
So,
This is a
Chuck,
very smart way to go.
I have a question. So you have this light, it's controlled, that's good, it knows what to do or not to do. But somebody coming down Hine Hill who wants to take a left, right? I mean, there's a stop sign, as you said, you could put all kinds of things, don't do this. But if there's nobody coming, they're still gonna do it.
There's nothing stopping them from making
Oh,
bad
I think
decisions.
so. What, you've never seen anybody in our town run a red light? I see them every single day. They don't care, right, left, turn,
So
doesn't matter.
the beauty of this advanced traffic system is that it will know if anybody's coming on Grove and automatically give them a green light if no one's coming.
Okay, well, that's what I was asking, okay.
Yep.
All right,
So
well, we'll see.
if-
I mean, I don't know.
On the mast overhead on Railroad Street in a lot of
Yeah,
towns, you'll see the dome. You'll also see one of these almost right next to it, and it's a forward cast of what's coming. So it knows what's there, and it'll
Right.
also tell you what's coming down the road.
okay, 5 days of the week, 4 out of 5, I'll say, I'm on Railroad Street and wanting to take a right-hand turn to go towards the bridge, right? I see people crossing to the laundromat, I see people crossing, wasn't just for kicks, I see cars coming out of West Street, and I want to tell you that whatever that's supposedly controlling, as a matter of fact, I was wondering if something was wrong with it one day, because we sat there forever, and nobody was walking, nobody was turning. So, I mean, it's not fail-safe, that's for sure. So if that were to happen out in the Hine Hill area where we have all these accidents with people turning, what do you think the people on Hine Hill or Grove are gonna do if they feel that 2, 3, 4 second, which, they will?
They will. So if I could just preface me pointing out
I
that they're
guess
installed.
the rest of my question is, how do you adjust it then? You'd have to see it or know it. Is that gonna tell you that the guy made the left-hand turn anyway, in front of the car coming?
So this system would know that the car left the queue.
And it would fix itself?
It would recognize there's no longer anybody waiting for that green light. I guess that's what you're asking. And it wouldn't,
I just asking how it's really gonna be a detriment to people doing what they're doing now. Because it's not recognizing cars, it's not taking pictures, it's not looking at plates, it's not a policeman there.
Oh.
That's all. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I just have seen so much of it that people pay no attention. And over there, we've all driven by and seen it happen. I just wonder if there's anything that can stop it. It's a lot of money, this, right?
You're correct. It is a lot of
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
I mean, we're looking at $650,000.
Exactly. And even if you took some of the stuff out of that, it's still a lot of money.
It is.
Chris?
Chuck, I don't know where you are in your presentation, but I'm going back to the data that you showed on the two intersections. I knew this was coming, so I was looking for data as well, so I had emailed the PD on, so for the last 3 years, so starting, say, last month, in the last 3 years. And so for Fordyce, it only showed 4 total accidents, none with injuries. And all 4 were between September and October of 2022. That was it. So
4 total accidents?
4 total in 3 years. Now, it was a different 3 years because you went from 2020 to 2023.
Okay.
But, so I just want to make sure we check the data to make, that we're,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So the Yukon Crash Repository is actually open to anybody. You can go type in Yukon Crash Repository.
Yeah.
It's a little cumbersome to negotiate once you're in there. You could look at heat maps of crashes. The heat map for, not so much Fordyce, but for Hine Hill is bright red, just because the amount of crashes there, right? I
And
think we
their,
can all agree.
the PD's data for Hine Hill was, yeah, it was 26 accidents, 8 with injuries, bad stuff.
Okay. Where
so-
the KSC got their data from, I'm not 100% sure. The repository is one method that they use. I don't know. One problem I had looking for data myself is that Grove Street, the data is very dependent on how it's reported in the system. Grove Street's actually broken up into 3 different roads for some reason, and I'm not really sure why, if it's just an input method for how some of the reports get filed.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that police records are the most up to date. I'm not going to dispute what they're telling
Right.
you. I don't know how KSC came about getting their data, but I don't think it's, I think 4 accidents in 3 years. I think
Yeah,
that's
and they're all over just two months between, and
Yeah.
once I got the data, I questioned it. I
Yeah.
said, can you go back and check to make sure this is right? And they said, yeah, that's what we have.
Do they only report severe accidents?
No, there's accidents. I asked for accidents, so any accident reported,
Yeah.
then accidents with injuries. And there were
Well, I
no
know
accidents with injuries and only 4 total
Well,
accidents
it's
there.
less than Hine Hill, but that does sound like a small amount, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then I start wondering, hey, do we really need to spend the money on Fordyce? And I understand it's a screwy intersection, but
Yeah,
if the data
angle
doesn't
of the
support.
intersection is a problem there. Typically, when we design an intersection, it's teed up. On that one, it's not a T, and it's a
Right.
huge elevation change, which causes
Right.
problems for,
Right.
on multiple reasons here, you know?
Yeah.
And then you do have a little bit of a sightline issue heading to the north, so,
Correct, yep.
you know, there is that problem.
Yep.
And these would be, if I'm right, the only 2 lights that the town owns.
These would be the first 2,
Right, that's what I'm
correct?
saying, yeah. Was there a cost on maintenance and
That was
upkeep?
gonna be my next question,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like how much
do
does
we
it
do
cost to
that?
run?
So I did reach out to a company, Rizzo Electric. Unfortunately, they haven't gotten back to me on pricing. I will tell you, a lot of towns have their own maintenance department. With 2 lights, I don't think it's feasible for us to do it. I have heard from other towns that have comparable pricing for, you know, other systems. I mean, just a maintenance agreement might be between 5 and 10 grand, but it depends on what they come out and do. The controller, you know, you see on the side of a road, the silver boxes at all the intersections, you know, inside that's all the hardware, right? The controller is the focus of the system. Depending on what style and what programming controller you want, it's $15,000 to $30,000 just for that one controller. The car hits that, it's a $50,000 bill. Granted, covered by insurance, hopefully at some point. But in the meantime, what do? You're gonna replace it, you're gonna have a crew come in.
What's the closest town that has one that they own? Brookfield?
I'm sorry?
Does Brookfield, I was just saying, what's close to us where a town already has one they own?
Danbury.
Danbury
has them,
Brookfield
for
has it
sure.
on-
Yeah.
Not on the side road. But, so would you guys be schooled in how to fix it? Like, obviously, when we have blinking lights and things go on 7, we call the state.
That's a
What
good
if something
question.
happens in these
So
lights?
myself and one of our other engineering AutoCAD techs have been taking some classes on traffic signal maintenance and troubleshooting. We're getting the hang of it a little bit. It goes through Yukon, the T2 Center, has all these classes available to basically anybody that wants to take them. So there are level certificates that you can get that includes, you know, troubleshooting, programming, things like that. When it comes to installation and replacement, that would have to be something a little more skilled and involved, you know.
Be third-party vendor.
Yeah.
Right.
But luckily, accidents of that magnitude don't happen often. And
Right.
when it
So
does, yes,
The
it's an emergency.
636 or 626 is initial cost, but then after that, there's a maintenance upkeep.
There's gonna be residual costs every year. It's a maintenance cost.
Right.
These are LED lights. They eventually go bad.
And if the council approved this.
That's right.
We would go out for lots of funding
Right.
to get it paid. by
So,
lots.
so again, Chuck, I'm gonna say, there's a stop sign, like we have stop signs everywhere, and then there's a light instead. Stop means stop. Everybody knows that, right? But not everybody does.
Correct.
So now you can have a red light. Everybody knows that you're not supposed to take a right-hand turn when you're coming off Railroad Street. Guess what? Every day that I'm there, I see it happen multiple times. Young, old, doesn't matter. So I guess it's just the money. I think about, you know, what we put into it to put it up and then maintain it, and is it really gonna stop people? I don't know. Where's the data on that? Where's the data that they had a comparable number of accidents in a place like we have for Hine and Grove, and what happened in 6 months or a year? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm not saying this is terrible, but I just don't know that human nature is gonna change because it's electric,
No, understood.
you know?
The engineering firm came back with their recommendations. You know, angle crashes were the biggest, and that's somebody pulling out and somebody basically T-boning the other. And what
Yes.
causes that? I mean, high speed, sure. Distracted driving, absolutely a part of it.
yeah.
Impatience, driver error, for
Right.
sure.
Yep.
Stop sign, stop light,
And you have the
absolutely.
hill on the added steepness of the road
Correct.
coming down there too, which.
And that's where some advanced warning signs, you know, additional warning signs for the hill would
Gates.
come in.
Right. Oh, well.
So.
He's got a question.
What type of liability are we accepting? If we have a malfunction of that equipment and there's an accident, maybe Randy can,
None.
None.
That's a new act. Governmental immunity for stoplights.
Oh, that's great.
So a malfunction automatically goes into blink or flash. Does happen once in a while. You'll see it on 67 in Grove every once in a while, yeah. So it automatically has a fail-safe built in. If it loses power, that's a different story, but then everyone should know when you come to a signalized intersection with no power, it's a stop sign.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Everybody knows it.
Everybody should know that. It is, if you read it.
The presentation gave us information to imply that data supports the lights being the best solution out of all of them. I mean, you saw how much additional travel time, but also the reduction in accidents, potential accidents. There's a lot of data you put up there, or from the engineers, right? They plug things into their system and spit out what you showed us.
I will say this study did not report back a reduction in accidents.
Okay.
It reported what accidents there are currently, typically what the cause of those accidents were, and how those accidents occurred. And the numbers that you saw on here would be queue times or delays.
Okay.
So what would be the impact or level of service currently and going forward?
But they're recommending lights to reduce the accidents, correct?
Correct. Their recommendation is to install the lights.
Okay. So I'm going to ask, Mr. Mayor, we might have to extend the length of our meeting, but what possible actions were you looking for today?
So, can we extend the meeting when we go 4 minutes? Go to 10:30?
No, 4 more minutes before you.
4 more minutes before we do it,
Yeah,
so
it's
can we extend it to
9:54. We got
10:30?
6, so it'll be 6 minutes.
Motion to extend.
Move to extend the
Second.
meeting until 10,
All
10? Is that what you said?
10:30.
10:30. Oh, my God.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All
So
right.
what's the action you're looking for? You said possible action?
Possible action is,
If we wanted to.
if we wanted to tonight, to make a motion to move forward with the next steps, which was to engage in, I would think, Jack, what, an RFP, an RFQ, lots of find out what the cost be, then go to grant funding for lots of, to see if we can get a grant for it.
If I may just add a little bit more,
Yep.
just because, as far as funding goes, we set this last RFP up to basically fill out the WestCog form and load some funding. The funding closed from last year. We weren't in a rush. If we go forward with it next year, for the next round, it is available to us. So we have the data to apply for that program. There is a lot of incentive for safety, roadway safety. We're applying for other grants for Safe Streets for All. This is eligible for that. We have spoken to WestCog already. It would just be a matter of application and funding requests from them. So that is one possibility.
And today, Mayor, I think
And we
around
own
4
it.
o'clock, I sent you an email. FHWA has come out with another grant program, and if you look at the list of them, the last one was for traffic signalization, and they had, money available, so we can either go to LOTSIP or that, or go both, and hope we get one of the two.
Doug, and then
Can you bifurcate
Chris?
the two, because you have it in a lump sum, so can you put in separate what?
Take out Fordyce, you mean?
Yeah, so we'll separate them, give me what Fordyce would cost and what Pine Hill would cost,
I didn't break it out.
just when you come back next time.
Essentially, it would be half, in all
So
honesty.
there's no
'cause
cost
there's
savings doing both of them?
Really?
I don't know. I got that.
Cost savings to do
Doing
them
both
both?
at the same time as opposed to separate, if we decided that we didn't want to do one.
it'll cost you more if you,
Maybe.
Well, I don't
Maybe,
know.
it's just their estimate, maybe.
Right. That's
You work a
well,
deal.
the cost to do this, you're mobilizing machinery, you're mobilizing manpower.
Right.
So if you then just do one and then come back again, you're gonna have to remobilize.
Well, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Which will be,
That
which will
would
be a
be,
cost.
so that would, if we had to say do that separately, one this year and one next, that would be significantly higher, just because of, the mayor said, it would be a remobilization, and then cost escalation on top of that.
So you're saying they would do this same project, both of these projects, in the same timeline if they did them?
Well, that's the pricing.
Typically, yes.
Okay.
If the decision was made to signalize both, it would be one project done together.
Okay.
Or you could choose to just do
Chris has
One at a
Pine
time.
and
Right.
And
Okay.
that
just
is-
do the one.
That is an
Chris?
option as well.
I guess just, for me, I'm troubled by the disparity in the traffic accident data, and I would like just to go back and go off and confirm what we have here. I wouldn't be prepared to vote on anything until we were sure that we were acting upon the right.
And
accident
is
data.
this the worst intersection in the town of New Milford?
The worst town-owned
No,
intersection?
I'm talking about the worst intersection for accidents.
No.
No, I want to say
Route 7.
Route 7 is bad, but the
Okay.
67 intersection, I
That's-
think
well,
rates
that's out of our-
probably higher as well.
That's out of our
Yeah,
hands.
So
So this
for-
is a town road.
correct. In my
This is
opinion,
it?
this would be the highest crash rate for a town-owned intersection currently.
And our PD agrees with that? Did you ask them?
I didn't ask that question. I just specifically asked on those two intersections.
I don't
the
know,
data.
it's a lot of money, and then it needs somebody to take care of it, and I don't know. There's no data says that it's gonna work better than a stop sign. What do you think, Mary Jane? Do you think it will?
I think we should go with the signal. I can empathize with the people coming down off of Hine Hill.
Yeah.
It can be very dangerous, and one accident, and for one family, could lose a loved one, could lose the breadwinner, the wife, the
Oh, I
husband.
get that,
You know, like, come on, this, we're talking about safety in
Right,
this
but
town.
what
We're
is,
not talking.
but what makes a person slow down or stop when they know they're supposed to because it's a light versus the time they don't slow down?
Well, I think if it works better and,
Maybe.
and it's signaled so that, if there's nobody coming in the
Well,
other
yeah,
direction,
I
it'll
guess.
let you
I'm
go.
not- no.
It's not gonna have people backed up and aggravated and,
You think
I
that might,
just-
I don't travel
yeah.
that road very often.
I don't think it's
Last
a
time I
point.
I
did,
travel
somebody
a lot.
almost T-boned me.
I think it's not a point of people stopping, I think it's a point of people pulling out
Yeah,
in front of,
that's
after they
exactly-
stop. So the
exactly.
stop sign doesn't have it's not that they're not stopping, they're stopping and trying to cut in front of somebody. So the light would help that. I think I agree with Mary Jean, I think the light would help that. It's not that they're not stopping, they're stopping and trying to cut out in front of somebody who's going
we're
fast.
talking about the safety of our residents here.
Right.
If it doesn't work, then
If we take the next step, are we
Bodies.
committed to doing it, or are we just investigating potential
Just investigating.
funding?
The next step would be application to a funding source, unless the
Okay.
town council wants to hand over
Because
$656,000.
I really think that's absolutely true. If you stop there and then take your left turn, hoping no one's there, as opposed to you stop and when it turns green, you get to go because everybody else has stopped. And it's gonna slow things down a little bit, but I think we need people to slow down a little bit.
Right.
So I'm all for it. I'd like to make a motion that we
Okay,
move
go
ahead
I was
with the
gonna-
next step.
Okay.
Second.
Go.
Okay, discussion on the motion.
Yes, I'd like to say the following. I'd like to know why the data is conflicting between what you found and what you have. I'd like to know for sure that we're judging these accidents and the number of cars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It won't hurt to wait and find that out. Can you do that? Okay.
I can, yes.
And also see what it would be, what that listing would look like if you decided not to do Fordyce, because you just said there were only 4 accidents on Fordyce, or you said.
According to
Yeah.
Milford PD, yes.
Right, and it is a completely different thing. but-
So just get a sense of the consensus of the council. Does everybody agree there should be a light at Grove and
Pine?
Yes.
Is
Does
that what you
everybody
said?
agree with that?
I don't know that I do, but yeah, okay.
Okay. The other one is we're gonna get the data back, but at least we could, if it's okay with the council, you could at least start to fill out paperwork. Doesn't mean you have to pick 2 until we come back to the next meeting.
Right.
And we'll have the confirmed data.
Yeah, if it pleases the council, I will get the data, I'll confirm with New Milford PD and the Yukon Crash Repository, we'll get that situated and get a firm number. I can come back next month and report back on that.
And you had mentioned that this funding had closed for this year, the next, you're gonna be applying for next year.
For that one specific
July?
program, the
Right.
LOTSIP, which we would generally use through WestCog, as Jack said, the Federal Highway is going to open up some new funding. And Connecticut DOT, there's funding avenues out there. The engineering firm has mentioned that they have done similar projects in the past through used funding, and as a part of their bid for this, it includes writing a funding request, so
Nice.
we could request 1, 2, 3. But
I agree.
I'm happy to come back and report.
I think, Mayor, one other thing is the speed bumps. I'm gonna tell you, our department does not recommend the speed bumps. Those are motorcycle launching pads.
Oh, my gosh.
Not to mention
So-
young drivers, speeders.
I'm just saying, if you approve us to start moving forward, I was not going to I was not gonna include those.
Yeah, we can à la carte it as we go
So
along.
we're only,
right?
we're saying
So-
okay to
We
the,
apply for the grant, and
So-
and even if you're awarded the
Don't
grant,
apply, just-
you can,
So right now, we are agreeing to, really, the main one is Hine Hill and that intersection. You're gonna come back with the data on the second one. But tonight, the motion's made to begin really moving towards that process. Is that
Right.
agreeable to
Yes.
everybody?
right, and
Moving
and
towards the
breaking
funding.
out in case we decide that we don't want to do the Fordyce.
I second her motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Next, wait, they're still here. Got one more, Doug, one more quick thing.
Right. Oh, yeah, don't
Chris?
go anywhere.
Oh, is this guy gonna ask for money?
Okay, all right, so we want to move to you ready? Get this over with? Okay, you ready? So, make a motion that we transfer funds from Public Works winter overtime to non-winter overtime in the amount of $36,000 from the winter overtime account number 104-301-0051-333 to the non-winter overtime account of 104-301-005-1334.
I second that.
Any discussion? You seen the memo from Chris? Went to the council members?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
He did nothing, look, he's been around here.
Hey, Chris, great
Yep.
job.
Okay, oh, really? That's why she's here.
Okay. Yes.
Is there any way when they're on the agenda, they can be moved up the agenda a little bit? Because
Well, then you just end up talking about somebody else later in the day.
Well, I hadn't really thought about it before, but I didn't expect us to be going at 10 o'clock. So
Thanks, Jack.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Way past my bedtime.
Oh, come on. You
Okay.
can stay up later.
Item 13,
I will in-
concerning
I will in-
PFAS. What?
No, that's why I was
Oh,
wondering if you were going to get
concerning
into that.
PFAS. Okay. So I'd like to start out first is, I know we heard from the public concerning PFAS. One of the items that I did take away from it was educating our community. Heard that loud and clear from our community. And I think at first and foremost, we did start some of that on our town website. You can go to www.milford.org, go to community, there's a tab on the left-hand side. As a matter of fact, I'll pull it up here real quick. No, it just takes a minute to warm
It's under community?
up. So you're gonna go to Community tab, which would be across the middle, the top piece, middle. Click Community on the left-hand side, it says PFAS Info. And on PFAS Info, there's an interview from the Connecticut Department of Health Commissioner, Dr. Mashina, I'm totally wrecking her name, I apologize, Juthani, concerning PFAS. And what you can do is, it's a long interview, it's about 43 minutes. You can click to the 19 mark where she starts talking about both community wells and she goes into private wells. Also, general information from the Connecticut Department of Public Health. Then there's updated information from the EPA. Also talks about the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, DEEP, for private wells. EPA regulations that are on there. There's a fact sheet also for small and rural water systems, because that was spoken a little bit this evening about smaller water systems. So first and foremost, for those who are watching and may not be kind of aware of PFAS, it is an issue that faces us all. The regulatory body, there's a lot of conjecture that's put into social media that the town is responsible for PFAS. That's incorrect. Who's responsible? The regulatory agency for PFAS is the Connecticut Department of Public Health. They're the ones responsible. They're the ones that are the regulatory body for it. And then for private wells, it's DEEP as well. So kind of starting off with that, Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, and you can look this up, it's on our website here as well. We'll start with private wells first. So PFAS information for private well owners. The Connecticut Department of Public Health, CTDPH, is responsible for drinking water, including private wells. So they are the regulatory body of private wells. Am I correct, Randy?
Yes.
Not the town of New Milford.
This is all state. The Department of Health is all state run when it comes to water. I mean,
It also says in Connecticut, if natural contamination is discovered within a private well, the Connecticut DPH private well program, and that it has here, which you can look on the website to click on, will work with a homeowner to resolve the issue. However, when the contamination is present in drinking water as a result of human activity, the hyperlinked Deep Remediation Division's potable water program, which you can click on our website and see, can assist with the investigation of the contamination source, evaluating water testing results, and providing guidance on available water treatment alternatives. Because all PFAS are human-made, PFAS contamination of private wells falls under the scope of the potable well program. So again, it's not the town of New Milford. It is the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection. Now, on this Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection website, frequently asked questions about private well PFAS testing. And this is very important. Should I test my drinking water for PFAS? This is coming exactly from the regulatory body. PFAS testing is currently not generally recommended for private well owners because of the complexity of proper sample collection, cost, and the limited number of labs approved for testing for PFAS. For general recommendations on what to test for and how often, please refer to the Connecticut DPH website, testyourwell.ct.gov. There's also another one, https://testyourwell.ct.gov/. If, however, your well is tested near a suspected PFAS source, you may wish to test your drinking water. And why is that important? Why are we talking about that tonight? There was a request by Ms. Ram where she had emailed me and has suggested that the town set aside about $200,000 for well testing for those that own their property that may not be able to afford PFAS testing on their own. So first thing I did was I asked our town attorney. And I said to the town attorney, because we're a municipality and we have to follow and abide by the rules, right? And I asked his opinion. If the Connecticut Department of Health is stating, and it's in this, I didn't make this up, PFAS testing is currently not generally recommended for private well owners because of the complexity of proper sample collection. How do we dovetail that into a town then helping sponsor private people from without the well located near a suspected PFAS source? How does that dovetail into being able to do that?
You have to get a supplemental appropriation for that, first of all. Secondly, the concern that you have is that, Connecticut DPH has told us that, well, this is not, private testing, or private well testing is not broadly suggested. So how do you, and it puts us between a rock and a hard place. How can you get a supplemental appropriation for something that's not recommended by the Department of Public Health? Connecticut law is that all water, whether you like it or not, like the Soviet Union, all water is waters of the state. So whenever you deal with water, you have to deal with the state. I don't know what'll happen. You start if you do a supplemental appropriation for that out of the blue. I don't know whether it'll be effective. I don't know whether DPH would even agree with that.
That's right.
I mean, they're sending obviously ambiguous information here. But the point that we have as government, we've got to follow the law and the recommendation of the state, or else we're going to put ourselves in jeopardy. I think it's a great thing to do if it's warranted and it's approved by DPH.
Thank you. I also asked our senators to help us with those of our residents that would like to get their water tested that felt a concern. So I spoke with Senator Murphy's team, and spoke with Mike Fallon, who's their outreach director, and then spoke to Ariel Vega, who's within the office as well. And basically, I'd asked them, is there any grant funding available at all through the federal government? Because you got all this money that's pouring in, right? So is there any money right now available for this? And they had replied back, Mayor Bass, the grant program that Mike flagged would be the best funding opportunity for your project. I do not believe that they have listed a notice of funding opportunity yet, but I will be on the lookout for it and share with you when they make it available.
That means it's not eligible. That's what that means. I mean, this bureaucracy is amazingly frustrating.
So I also asked our Western Council of Governments Are there other towns within the West Cog? So that's, as we've talked about before, that's Sherman, New Milford, all the way down to Greenwich. Are there other avenues? Are there other ways that we can do this? And right now, I'm waiting to hear back. Are there other towns? Are there other ones that are somehow looking to be able to do a workaround?
Danbury's doing it, funding it. $1.9 million for treatment.
Wait a minute, that's a water treatment plant.
Right. No, it's a water treatment plant, right?
Okay.
We're just talking about privately owned, but what about community owned?
I'm gonna get to that second.
Okay,
Thank you.
Right, they're two different challenges.
Absolutely. So Randy, what I'd like to do is, could you take a look at Danbury? And see, and see what that is? And then I can bring that back to the council as well. As far as community wells, so community, most here in New Milford are on Aquarian water. Those that aren't on Aquarian water, that are on small community wells, those that are within the scope of the community well, I don't know if it's all the homeowners together, if it's one entity that owns it, I don't know the circumstance, but they're able to go and apply for funding through the Connecticut Department of Health. They have funding available for that. As a matter of fact, you can look at their water systems, and that's Connecticut Department of Health, 860-509-7333. And if you want...
All private.
Huh?
No, I was just asking if they had community.
Yeah. If you want, if it's the community well that you're concerned about, please reach out to my office, and I'll put you in contact with the Connecticut DPH, because they have stuff specifically for community well systems. As far as the bigger well systems, like we talked about before, Aquarian water, they're the biggest one here in New Milford, and they have actually been posting their results for a number of years. And you can go to their website. You can click, I'll go to their website right now.
Pete, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So the young lady who said she had a system put in her basement. Now, when you worked with the DEP, what was the cost to you for that?
Zero.
Okay, so can you just tell me the quick steps for the people that are here, or maybe at home, what you did?
The initial testing cost me around $600.
Right.
To get it tested, and that's when I contacted DEEP. They came out, they retested my water to make sure that the test results were accurate. They actually came up with a higher result than the first time. And so then that's when they got the ball rolling. They sent us bottled water to use until they could get the filtration system installed in our basement.
So it was no cost to you, you got a hold of them, they put it in the basement, and then
Right.
they'll come back and test in another time?
The DEEP process was no
or-
cost to me. Yeah, they're gonna come back every, I'm sorry, what? Yes, I had to pay for the initial test. So, yeah, no, they didn't cover that. They covered for the retest.
This is where the problem's coming in.
Yeah, because people can't afford to do the initial test, and I don't
Exactly.
think that
This is what the
DEEP is
problem
going
is.
to.
And you need to know to do the proper test, because otherwise you're spending the $200 or whatever for the wrong test.
$700.
That's it. No, to get the right one, it's about 600. But if you don't, just a second, Hillary, please. So you did the right thing by getting the right test, because I could tell you paid more for it, and they sanctioned it, right? Just that people that are listening, just to get a water test isn't going to test, as you know, for
No,
PFAS.
I had to get
And
it,
in
I had to
order-
specifically seek out the
Correct.
PFAS
And
test.
that is the
the
expensive
600 was
test.
only for PFAS. I didn't
That's
get
right.
anything else tested.
Right, right.
So it's not a test that, if you want to get your water tested, it's not a typical test that they're going to do.
And
they're
did
gonna
you do the test yourself?
Hmm?
Did you do the test yourself?
Yes.
And then once it was a positive result, then the DPH come in and do their test
DEEP
Yep.
came in and did their test, yeah.
to quantify it, to make sure that it
To
was
make sure
correct?
that the results were accurate.
Yep.
So I think, like, where you mentioned, where do you dovetail that? I think having a known contamination in a private well would warrant testing other private wells.
Well, how it's supposed to work, and that's why I asked, is if you have, and what was your number?
My number, I have it written down. So I have, the one that was over the state limit was PFOS, and that was 14 parts per trillion, and the limit's 10.
Yeah, and how it's supposed to work is that DPH and DEP will go to your surrounding neighborhood, and then they will request testing
Right.
because of it.
Are you in
Yeah.
a neighborhood, or are you kind of out by yourself?
I'm on 67, so it's not really a neighborhood, it's just, lines of houses.
And when are they, from when you had the first test and then they installed, when are they gonna do the next test?
So they installed they installed it, they retested the water. I'm waiting for the retest results now
Oh, okay.
to make sure that the filters are doing their job.
Couple weeks usually, it takes?
Usually it's 2 weeks, but actually I have to get in touch with them because it's
Please-
been
please
longer.
let us
They
know
might
the
be
results.
bogged down.
Yeah, please let us know. Thank you.
It's a-
Are you, are those results going to our health department?
I
Your water?
am not sure. I'm assuming they are because DEEP and DPH are working together on this.
I would think
I think
they
they are,
would.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good, thanks.
Kind of getting back to Aquarian, you go to quality water reports, and then they have them all listed. For New Milford, they have the regional, which is the big one, the Dean Heights, and the Pleasant View systems.
They have the what? What did you say?
They have the regional, which is the big system, and then they have Dean Heights and Pleasant View as well, all their systems. And then they break out everything. All their quality reports, they'll do, barium, chromium, copper, lead, caliform, all the way to the PFAS. So they do full balloon breakout of a whole
That's been
thing.
posted for like.
Yep,
For a long time.
yep, they've been doing this for a while.
Hillary had her hand up before. I
Yep.
didn't want you to interrupt her.
Yep,
Go ahead.
Hillary?
Oh, no, she actually did it. I was just gonna say, you don't do the test yourself, you hire a lab to do the test, right?
Right.
The municipality would, and, that there's a known contamination, that's the time, but it was said, thank you so much.
And Pete, does our health department have the direct number for DEP? If somebody wants to contact the local health department in Milford and look for that number?
Yep,
You know,
it's
they have
actually on our
that?
website as well.
The
Okay.
regional,
But if they want it,
Houstonic Valley Regional Health, if you Google that,
Okay.
you'll have a number for every town. The people are there. There's people upstairs here.
Good.
Talk to you.
I'll get the number right now.
If I may ask one other question about the wells. It's my understanding that, well, if I'm on Sunny Valley and somebody else is on a different private well, or community well, we don't necessarily know where our water's coming from. So if I call and ask, what well is my water coming from at 8 Sherwood Drive, I'm told they can't tell me that because the lines are running in every which direction. So it kind of brings us back to then the testing at the tap, which is my understanding for them to really confirm contamination, you have to test at the tap in the home. Because you really don't know where your water's coming from, even if you're paying taxes to a specific well for management. And so I think that's part of the fear in all of this is, are we getting accurate information? And I think that goes back to the education.
And I think that's being a smaller community well. How many are in the community system of yours, do you know?
It's my understanding that there's about 100 homes in the Sunny Valley Tax District well.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not really that small.
It's not
pretty
that
good
small,
size.
right? Yeah.
How many
so that's
wells?
the concern.
How many
Sorry?
wells serves that 100?
It's supposed to be one, is my
Yep,
understanding.
supposed to be one well.
One well. That's what's reported in the.
You don't pay a community tax for that well?
We do.
So why doesn't the board, if you have a board, have that well tested? Do you know if that was tested?
Whatever, they're not testing for PFAS, is our understanding. So we are looking at that too, right? To go to them to say, why aren't you testing? But the
Homeowners, yeah,
argument,
when you approach the board, you gotta have an HO.
yes, that is definitely underway too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
if you have one well for your development,
Mhm.
then they ought to be able to, then it does, you do know which well it's coming from, because there's only one well.
If they're confirming that, yes, but I'm being told
Oh,
otherwise, so
I
we're
see.
trying to still
It
gather
does seem a
that.
little odd that at this
Yeah.
stage, because of the added homes that have been put in there over the years, that there
Right,
be
are
only
we
one.
necessarily all still getting from that same well?
I get, right, yeah, yeah.
To be confirmed, right, for sure.
I think you're close to the aquarium source.
Just for the pricing purpose, if you can get a price just to test the one well that services 100 people, it would be more cost effective
Do you-
to do that than each individual having it tested at their house.
Yeah, and that's where the controversy is as to whether or not all the water's coming from the same well. So we're trying to identify that. But I think that's where we're asking really for more education, right? And
Good.
then support. So if we can get that and there's enough evidence in that well, testing from the well, to determine that, then maybe that becomes a bigger issue with DEEP that we can address.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be ideal, for sure.
So, Mary Jane? Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to know, like,
Sure.
so that's exactly the thing. I just to raise this awareness and kind of get us as a whole community a red flag with Aquarian and Deep. Like, hey, we're over here. We have higher levels. Yes, this is everywhere. This is a nationwide issue. Can you test our schools? It's kind of in a high area. You know, you guys kind of just be our voice, because little us older, I've made so many phone calls and I've gotten nothing.
I'd reach out to the BOE and ask them if they have testing done.
Yeah, do they test for PFAS?
Well, that's a question for the BOE.
Like, that's right in the, higher concentration area
Contact
too.
facilities,
Like,
they would know
we
that.
just need you guys to just.
I did reach out to the Board of Ed, but they said they haven't tested yet.
Mr. Mayor, it's
He's
10:26.
asking for community awareness.
Thank you.
Right,
Right.
right, so.
And education.
Not necessarily, not money, we're not gonna.
No, but we have, there's people in the regional health district and DEEP, I mean, we could have a forum, you could get information is one thing.
Now, how the hell
Or
are we to
leverage,
go
then
to
we're
as
gonna
a
have-
town?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Randy's gonna look at Danbury and see what they're doing there. Can you contact me with your well information, your community well?
Yeah, I'll get the
And then,
for sure.
yep,
That
we'll
be
make sure
done?
that
Look at this thing, it's
DPH.
like we gotta come out at 5 angles to get something accomplished, so that's really what we're looking for.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
might we put together a temporary committee
Oh, my God.
to talk about different ways that we can improve, include the Board of Ed, include some community members who might have more information, include someone from the different community wells, but put some people together rather quickly, because I know about testing water, but I had to be trained to do it for summer camps, right? Okay, and so I know that there's potential of training volunteers to do water sampling, if that will move this along, because part of it's a little bit of a panic mode because people are scared about the numbers. So if we had a committee,
The
we could talk
testing
about
for
strategies.
PFAS is much different than just testing water.
course, no, of course, I understand that.
And I
And-
don't think they would train people,
Katie,
volunteers to
Katie,
do it.
we were trained to do the testing.
Were you testing for PFAS at camp?
Yes,
It's 10:28.
And what year was that?
Chris?
2018.
Okay, I would ask them first, because I don't know that they would train volunteers, but anyway.
Yep, you got
Yeah.
10:28.
The labs do it.
I know they do.
What's everybody's, Mary Jane?
I just want to say, everybody's entitled to clean water. I mean, it's universal. It should be universal. And I just feel like we all need to work together
I agree.
to make sure that our residents are getting clean water and figure out a way, if there is some way that we can help them. Because for $700, there's a lot of people out there that, that they're going to give up meds or food or resources for their kids. And I'm worried about that, because I feel like, there's more people out there that can't afford that $700.
And the state owns the state, as Randy said, our water, it's the state that takes that?
State.
Takes over for that?
The state is the owner.
Yeah,
All
right.
waters are considered waters of the
Right,
state. It's a precious resource.
So there's the uprising, there's the red flag you want to wave at people.
It's 10:29.
Because
10:29.
That's the problem, because, to hear them.
Well, I
say,
know it is,
like
because they're not listening.
Yeah, they're not all that concerned, but it is
It's 10:30, Mr. Mayor.
Zero level of PFAS is where we should all be, at zero.
Okay.
Don't know that it's.
So the takeaway is Randy is gonna get that
Yes, I'll talk to Dan.
information. We'll learn more from that. Hopefully we'll get more information from Senator Murphy and those guys. And
And our own health department.
yep, we'll get some information from our residents.
Motion to adjourn?
We still have the,
Oh, is this a monthly agenda?
We're not done.
we still have
How
the,
long is that gonna take?
The Airbnb discussion?
the,
Well, it's not Airbnb, we should call it that.
yeah,
We should
should
call
call
Do
it,
something with it, can't adjourn.
Randy's just gonna give us an update, that's it.
I'll move it to 5 more minutes.
Right,
10:35.
okay. I'd like to move that we extend the meeting until 10:35. Do I have a
All in
second?
favor? All in favor?
Aye, okay, okay,
13B.
What?
right, we have,
One second, Katie, we have,
yeah.
I just have a question. Why are you doing it? I've been sitting here all night listening to this. We're neighbors. We haven't personally tested as of yet. We will be, but we're just finding out about this. Because this has been like, everybody's talking, and I understand people are upset, you know, it's it's Connecticut that owns the water, whatever. And, you know, you have people saying, so basically what I'm trying to say is there a way that we can, like you said, and I'm sorry if I forgot your name, but you said something about setting up something. Like where people from all different sides can work together on this to get information out there. Because if she didn't tell me, I would have no idea. And I already have health problems, so if my water is an issue, then that could be an issue for me. But there's nothing out there. Even when I look at the website, now you know the website, you know exactly where everything is. The website is not user-friendly if you don't know what you're looking for. So is there a way that we can get that, like something on there that says, you know, like you said, put a red flag somewhere so everybody can look? Like I follow you on Facebook, so, and I see your posts, I get your emails, which I love every day about the traffic. It's great. But my thing is, can we get this together and have put something out there where people can go? Because there's so much information coming from all over.
Right, and the
And
accuracy
it's
of
too
it.
many voices, too many people who are talking who think they know, who don't know. And you guys are supposed to be our town council and our mayor, so.
Okay, so here you are, you're asking, and I'm gonna give you something you could do tomorrow, just to start, is, you know that we're a part of the Houstonic Valley Regional Health District.
No.
Okay, well, you don't need
I
to know
didn't- I
that.
didn't know
I'm
that.
telling you that. We still have a health department upstairs, they're here every day, and there's one in Southbury. So if you contact the email mayor here, or call his office, he can give you the phone numbers, if you don't wanna look it up yourself. There are people there, the director of the regional health department can tell you, answer questions. People upstairs can answer questions.
And they're not just gonna give you the runaround and just.
No, they're paid to help you. They're paid to help all of us here. That's what they're there for.
And
No, they're not gonna run around. And
and
as a matter of fact, if you write down your name for me, I'll get it and give it to you. Give me your phone number, your email, I'll send it to you myself.
and Kay, we'll put that on the red banner at the top.
Yeah.
So you can click and it'll get you right to there.
Right.
Yeah, there's a red banner, but it doesn't really take you to the access.
Yeah. It's 10:34, let's go.
Yep, okay.
Okay, I guess somebody's in a hurry in here. We're gonna finish this business, even if we go another 5 minutes. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we take possible action on, and I don't wanna call it Airbnb, but, because what do you call it? Short-term rental ordinance, which is continued from our last town council meeting. Randy?
I have a recommendation.
Is there a second?
Yeah, we have a second, right there.
I don't know what you're voting on, but I have a recommendation on this. As you know, I've found, identified 26 towns in Massachusetts and Connecticut that have short-term rental as opposed to Airbnb ordinances. 13 of them are in Connecticut. Of those 13, one has an outright ban. which is Middlebury, and there are 3 that control this by ordinance. The others in Connecticut are by zoning regulation. I've come to a conclusion after extensive amount of review of this and discussion. I spoke with the fire marshal, spoke with the building official, spoke with the fire marshal in another town and another building official. And I recommend that this be done by ordinance rather than zoning. And the reason for that is because the zoning authority is by way of cease and desist. And that takes time, and usually the short-term rental will be over by the time a cease and desist is acted upon. Secondly, there's also a section 7-5152C requirement of an appeal when you do a zoning matter and a civil penalty. And that would be a bureaucratic morass that makes the Department of Health look easy. But the fact is that there's a number of points that the town council has to determine. We need a noise ordinance. We don't have one.
Oh.
And of course, that needs to be approved by DEP or DEEP. And it's also going to have to be negotiated because the police officers don't want to have decibel meters.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the way it is. We also have to have parking regulation within that ordinance if you do that. My recommendation, and you can take it, accept it, reject it, is to have unfortunately, a committee to determine the scope and depth of the ordinance. I can draft a sample ordinance. Basra has a very good ordinance, but all the common thread is that they have an enforcement officer.
Right.
That's assigned within the town, that's separate from the ZEO. ZEO has no real power on this, because the question came up, why is it allowed in zoning? The reason it's allowed is because zoning in Connecticut, in the state, and this town and most towns, is permissive. And if it says it's allowed, it's allowed. What is this? It's a residential use. It's absolutely allowed.
And Randy, this is all predicated upon the person that owns the property. And the people who are not on site on their property are the ones that have the problems. When you have above your garage apartment or another little building on your property or whatever, you rent out a room, you're home, and those are
Absolutely.
not the problems.
That's the finding that I made.
So here's my question. So if this is all done, and you serve and you have somebody such as an enforcement officer, the person who owns the home isn't there.
Right.
So who are you serving it? Who does the police call, who do you call about the noise? It's not the owner.
No, what you'd have to do in that situation, first of all, you're gonna have to have police enforcement. That would be the people in possession of the property. You have to have that in your ordinance. And there is a
Well, the
difference.
noise would apply to anybody who was making the noise,
Yeah,
right?
but
Okay.
so with the violation of the ordinance, if you have a.
So I'm
if you have a
renting it,
STR ordinance.
and I'm the one they're gonna knock on the door, and I'm gonna answer, and they're gonna say to me, you're too loud, you're gonna do this, whatever.
Right, or you have 10 cars in the road.
But, okay.
Because you have to have parking regulations.
How does that
too.
ever get to the owner who's allowing this to go on in their property?
It doesn't get to the owner. It gets to the possessor of the property.
There's no way of.
And
doing
every
an
2
ordinance
weeks-
that goes back to the
Oh, you
owner.
could do that, but how,
Well,
you're not gonna have a
because-
police officer
because
go
the-
arrest the owner somewhere if they're in Westchester County.
But this method of using this short-term for places where they're not on site, if you don't get to the owner, you're talking to different people every weekend, or
That's
such as
true.
that woman that came.
That's true. And by the way, some of these rental services have anti-party provisions.
Oh.
Whether they work or not is another issue.
Many of them.
Right.
I use Airbnb all the time.
Right. But the fact is that you're gonna need,
I don't.
you're gonna need parking
I don't think we
enforcement,
should-
because the
we're gonna
biggest
decide
complaints that
here.
people get are parking. I'm talking about anecdotally, I don't have that in writing anywhere, but the discussion that I had was that parking is a problem. So the way to enforce that is on the site at the time by the miscreants, by the police. Zoning enforcement officer can't arrest anybody.
It's not,
Who are the
it's not,
miscreants?
no, it's not.
That would be the people in possession making the noise, throwing the firecrackers, parking in somebody's driveway. Yeah, exactly.
How many people have complained to you, Mayor, about, such as happened with that woman, because there was a consistent in the house next door to her, and we don't know if she called the police, right, to complain about the noise?
There's probably altogether so far, over the years, probably 10 or 15.
Over the years, right.
How many?
10 or 15, but that's over the years.
Right. So that if you rented out a part of your house that you had, like, another apartment or whatever you want to call it, you're there. You own the home. You don't do it consistently for large gatherings, as was happening to this woman. I know some people on the lake have complained, but again, they're the ones that need to be told the noise and all these other ordinances.
Let's not confuse bed and breakfast
Right.
with this thing.
That's right. That's why I'm
Okay?
saying don't call
Because,
short-term rentals.
I have a cottage and people say, why don't you do Airbnb? And I say, I really don't want the BS that goes with Airbnb.
By the way, there's a difference between hosted and non-hosted.
Correct.
And
that's why I say we should not use the term of Airbnb, which is a company, because that's hosted.
It's called short-term
rental.
Yes.
So it's up to you as a
What? I don't,
I'm not looking
from us?
I want to explain to you the difference between an ordinance and a regulation.
Right.
I was told to report back to you
Chris,
tonight.
For expediency, does the council feel they want to go to a next step and set up a subcommittee to look at short-term rentals?
no. I don't. Because I don't think we have a handle on how many of them there are. We only know about a couple of people who have made a noise. And frankly, you're not getting to the root of the problem. Ma'am?
Oh, you ready?
Yeah, come up here.
Thank you, that's what I was just.
I mean, if that means the next step is an ordinance and
Sorry, I don't know your
police,
name.
we have to get the police involved.
Yeah, give me a call or an email.
Also, you're gonna have a
And doing a
reticence,
noise ordinance, I don't.
you're gonna have a reticence of the police to
I
enforce
know I'm
this,
right.
frankly.
You don't, it doesn't happen. This was a specific problem.
Do you
No,
want
it's
to extend
not.
the meeting?
Not big enough.
15 minutes?
All right. Do we want to extend the meeting, or we're kind of?
I think we're kind of done.
I'd like to table this and talk about it at our next
Yeah,
meeting. And
yeah.
Randy, I appreciate that you did that,
All
but
right.
I will
Oh,
ask the police.
I have no
Yeah,
dog in this
just-
fight.
Yeah.
This is your
Table
decision, it's a
second.
matter of policy.
All right, so we're going to table this to the
Yeah.
next meeting?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
To adjourn.
Do I have a second?
So,
All in favor?
aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone.